Annual physical. That report also mentioned the president has scarring on his right ear from last year's assassination attempt, but says his hearing is normal.
Actually, what you're doing with the border is remarkable. He has dropped, 95%? It's incredible.
China has too much influence over the Panama Canal, and America's going to take it back. China's influence cannot control our own backyard, especially a critical waterway, key terrain like the Panama Canal.
I want Iran to be a wonderful, great, happy country, but they can't have a nuclear weapon.
Nearly 9 months after President Trump was shot in Butler, Pennsylvania, a man from that same city is now behind bars for allegedly threatening the commander-in-chief online. The Justice Department saying 32-year-old Sean Monper, who went by the name Mr. Satan on YouTube, posted several threats. The DOJ saying on February 17th, he threatened the president, Elon Musk, and heads of multiple government agencies saying, quote, "We just need to start killing people."
Federal documents link a teen accused of killing his parents to an assassination plot against President Trump. According to ABC News, investigators found a manifesto from 17-year-old Nikita Kasep with references to making bombs, a terrorist attack, and plans for the president's assassination.
Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro and his family are safe. Emergency crews evacuated them from the official governor's residence overnight when police say someone set it on fire.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition of Human Events Daily here live, Washington, D.C. Today is April 14th, 2025, Anno Domini. Folks, you see it last night. Deranged leftist, or at least over the weekend, storms the gates of Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's mansion, hell-bent on destruction. And this is what we've been talking about for a long time, folks. The rise of the unhumans. This guy is apparently a card-carrying socialist, built Molotov cocktails, threw them in the governor's mansion, and is someone who had BLM stuff all over his Facebook. Now, we've been talking about this for some time and about these human scum out there. But it's not just about this guy, is it? Cody Balmer. No. How about Sean Monper, the Mr. Satan alias online from Butler, Pennsylvania, who last week was just arrested for threatening to assassinate President Trump and Elon Musk. Nikita Kasep in Wisconsin, who killed his parents and then also wanted to take the money to kill Trump. Ryan Wesley Routh, who we know wanted to kill Trump. Thomas Matthew Crooks. Carmelo Anthony. And really the support for Carmelo Anthony more so than his name itself, but the support that you see out there online for Carmelo Anthony. And then, of course, Luigi Maggioni. And here's the problem, folks. Josh Shapiro's own party, the Democrats, they've been playing footsie with this kind of violence for years. The BLM rioters, the fire starters, Antifa, the black masked thugs who would smash windows and crack skulls and attack people and shoot people, all in the name of resistance. These are Frankensteins of the left's endless grievance machine, and they're winking at eat the rich rhetoric. Now, I get it. Shapiro plays the moderate, Mr. Tough on Crime guy who's not actually tough on crime, but his party's been pouring gas on the fire, cozying up to the unhumans that they now claim to disown. They built this monster, and now it's literally at their gates. So don't let them fool you. This isn't just one lunatic. It's a legion, birthed by the same machine that cheers on defund the police one day and cries crocodile tears the next. This is all part of various strands of the unhuman tapestry. So spare me when you say that you're shocked. This is the rise of the unhumans, and the left has been holding their leash until it snapped. Be right back in Events Daily.
understand what America First truly means.
Welcome to the second American Revolution.
All right, Jack Posobiec, we are back live, Human Events Daily. Also want to welcome on the Salem Radio Network and Real America's Voice, Hour 3 of the Charlie Kirk audience. Folks, Trump is in the process of draining the swamp, but the uncertainty for many is, will he expose the entire pandemic? There's enough public evidence for folks to be convinced who injected themselves with these experiments. If you were forced to get the shot to work, to travel, or maybe you just trusted the system back then, well, check out this natural solution formulated by Dr. Peter McCullough in collaboration with the Wellness Company. And they just leveled up their original detox formula for $30 less. Introducing the 3-in-1 Ultimate Spike Detox, conveniently consolidated into one capsule with 4 times more naticanase, 500 milligrams of bromelain, and 500 milligrams of turmeric root extract. Naticanase is an enzyme researched for its anti-clotting effects. It may work to break down spike proteins. You combine it with bromelain and curcumin, it provides a potent blend for detoxification and cellular support. This is crafted with 100% natural ingredients. Ultimate Spike Detox is backed by research, offering effective support for your cell's natural repair and recovery. Experience the only formula approved and used by Dr. Peter McCullough, a top freedom-fighting doctor who risked it all. Head to twc.health/POSO and use promo code POSO to get 10% off plus free shipping. Again, that's twc.health/POSO and use promo code POSO to get 10% off. Get back to that pre-COVID feeling. All right. So we've got a lot to talk about for Pennsylvania today. And in order to do so, I wanted to bring on Mayor J.D. Longo of Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania, located in Butler County. Mayor Longo, how are you today?
Jack, thanks so much for having me on. I'm doing great.
Well, I sure you can agree with me that I wish that we would be able to meet under more favorable circumstances, but it seems as though Butler County and Pennsylvania in general seems to be connected with violence more and more these days. For folks who don't know, tell us the story just very briefly. You were there at the Butler, Pennsylvania rally with President Trump on July 13th.
That's right. I had the honor of opening up the July 13th rally and then further again to be the master of ceremonies for the October 5th return. But unfortunately, my family and I were witness to and endured political violence that was directed at President Trump and his supporters on July 13th. And so for those reasons, the things that we're seeing now, again, most recently with Sean Monper and again with the firebombing of the governor's mansion in Harrisburg is just abhorrent to me. And let me say furthermore that my thoughts are with the governor's family, and we're so glad, of course, that he's okay. And we're thankful to our law enforcement officers who, both in Harrisburg and in Butler, were able to bring these two maniacs out of the public and take them into custody so that they can't do harm to President Trump or to the governor or anybody else for their senseless political violence.
Well, I think it's exactly right. And look, nobody's been more critical of the governor than me, but I would challenge anyone to go find any of my monologues on him over the years and say, I see anything where I've said anything remotely talking about condoning violence. In fact, we're completely against violence. And that's why that writ large, specifically in the case of Luigi Maggioni, this is why I've been so concerned with the rise of the rhetoric, where even just last night, CNN had on this Taylor Lorenz person talking about, you need to understand where the Luigi Maggioni supporters are coming from. And CNN's interviewing her like this is a serious position that we should all take. And, you've got like comedians like Bill Burr up there, put out free Luigi, you see free Luigi signs everywhere. This is a real problem, is it not?
Absolutely. And to echo your point, Jack, we see time and again that folks most oftentimes on the left side, especially in the mainstream media, folks at CNN, MSNBC, and the list goes on, somehow seem to allow for this flirtation with violence, or for those who want to do violence, and suggesting almost that the ends justify the means. And I think that what we're seeing, Jack, is representative of a lot of the hateful vitriol and disrespect, and quite frankly, the dehumanization that we've seen time and again from the folks on the left side of the aisle of those of us who are conservative voters or Republican voters, fans of President Trump or what have you. But I do want to draw some attention to the hypocrisy that I see in that I can't find too many people who will be able to prove to me that they were ever critical of any of the riots that took place during the Summer of Love in relation to the Roe v. Wade riots, the BLM riots, or most recently with the targeting of Tesla owners and Tesla dealerships. Where is all the outrage now for that? I really hope that people will come to the table with the same passion to protect those of us who are enduring this political violence as they have in regard to things like the governor's most recent firebombing attack.
For sure. And you know, Governor Shapiro, by the way, too, I'm not going to lie about the guy. He has spoken out against the violence of Luigi Mangione, and he has talked about this. But the problem is this guy's party has been running around for a year. And even beyond that, if you go back to the BLM riots of 2020, if you go back to the Antifa activity, that all of this was going on. By the way, he was attorney general during that. And I don't remember him doing anything about Black Lives Matter and these massive riots when Philadelphia was burning. So there is a huge problem. And look, let's step back. This is what I want. OK, I want people to be safe. I want to have a political process where we compete and we argue and we debate and we deal with these issues and these differences at the ballot box, and we settle it there. So I can beat Josh Shapiro at the ballot box, and we will, by the way. But the idea is that we're not going to go down these other routes and condone any of these things, which, by the way, what's crazier to me is it turns out the guy who did this one specifically is another deranged leftist, just like we saw Mr. Satan right in your own backyard in Butler, Pennsylvania, was talking about, going to kill Trump. This guy's like a crazy BLM, anarcho-socialist type, which, by the way, the vast majority of the political violence that we've been seeing lately comes from these types of people.
Mm-hmm. And it's sad. It's sad. So I do just want to make sure that everybody understands, to your point, that we are going to continue to be critical of our politicians like Josh Shapiro, and that what we believe is wrong, but that we can do it with the right things in mind and using the mechanisms that have been given to us, that we've been blessed with by our founding fathers and by every American who served in our armed forces and in our law enforcement communities, that allow for our political processes to go through each year without any violence. And we need to make sure that we're doing well to keep up with the healthy political discourse and the disagreements without allowing for instances like this to silence us. Because at the end of the day, Jack, my fear is that these kinds of instances are going to be used somehow to wrap around back to us, those of us on the right side of the aisle, to suggest that because we're standing up for what we believe in, that we are somehow motivating these kinds of things to happen. And it couldn't be further from the truth. So I hope that we'll continue with the healthy discourse while also, holding people accountable like Josh Shapiro, but doing the right thing by way of saying that we will not tolerate any political violence.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, we want a reduction in violence, by the way, not just for the politicians, but also for the residents of the state. Or, by the way, if a candidate named Donald Trump is visiting our state, we don't want people taking pot shots at them. We don't want people going to political rallies like Corey Compatore and, unfortunately, losing their lives with their family being there present. This is a real problem. We want people to be able to go shopping in Kensington, Philadelphia, and not have to worry about street violence. It's very simple. We want safety. That includes everybody. That literally includes everybody. Mayor, where can people go to follow you, get more information, or find out what you're putting out?
Thank you, Jack. Please follow me online on Facebook, on X, on Instagram, Truth Social. If you look me up, Mayor Longo, Longo, or JD Longo, I'd be glad to connect with you to help advance the cause of conservatism in the Commonwealth and across the United States.
Give him a ring, folks. Mayor JD Longo, Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania. Be right back.
Terrence Bates here with your Real America's Voice news break. We appreciate you being here with us. The White House is on the offensive this morning when it comes to illegal aliens. Speaking outside the People's House earlier this morning, Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller blasting the media over its criticism of the administration and its deportation efforts.
And I just wish we lived in a country where the media gave to 1/10 a damn as much about Americans who were murdered and brutalized and savagely killed, beaten to death, as they did about whether illegal aliens that we all agree are illegal aliens should get 1,000,000 days in court and 1,000,000 trials and 1,000,000 this and 1,000,000 that. There's 15 million illegal aliens that violate into the country. If every one of them got the trial that you're asking for, it would take us centuries to remove them. Centuries. We'd be talking about this in 300-400 years. Their great-great-great-grandchildren would be the ones representing them in court. That's how long it would take. Illegal aliens who come to our country have to be removed, and they have to be removed quickly. That is an essential component of having something that we like to call a country.
Those comments coming as the Trump administration is in a bit of a face-off with the Supreme Court after the High Court ordered the administration to bring a wrongfully deported Salvadoran back to the United States. While the administration acknowledges that Kilmar Abrego Garcia was living in Maryland legally under a work permit, court filings on Sunday argue the administration isn't obligated to help him get out of prison in El Salvador and return to the United States. While the SCOTUS order says the U.S. should, quote, facilitate Garcia's return, attorneys say that only means they should remove any domestic obstacles that would otherwise impede his ability to return to the U.S. That doesn't include helping get him out of El Salvador. Immigration officials also say the order barring Garcia's deportation is no longer valid, quote, because of his membership in MS-13, which is now designated a foreign terrorist organization. Well, that's going to do it for your headlines. As always, we appreciate you being along for the ride. I'm Terrence Bates. Now, let's get you back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Today, they talk about influencers. These are influencers, and they're friends of mine. Jack Posobiec. Where's Jack? Jack, he's done a great job.
All right, folks, we're back. Jack Posobiec, Human Events, Daily, Real America's Voice, also here with the third hour of the Charlie Kirk program on the Salem Radio Network. Well, folks, I want to take you on a ride back to the 1990s, a time when flannel was king, dial-up internet screeching like a banshee, and something sinister was brewing in America's classrooms. See, the New York Times has just dropped another one of their sanctimonious thought pieces, but they're tiptoeing finally around the truth about ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Well, I'm not here to whisper half-truths. I'm here to rip the bandage off and expose the scam that robbed a generation of young boys of their spirit, of their fire, and of their God-given energy. And if Make America Healthy Again means anything, it's not just about clean water or organic kale. It's about stopping the war on our kids, and especially the war on young boys. You see, back in the 90s, doctors, those white-coated high priests of the medical cartel, decided that little boys, our boys, were a problem. Why? Because they were bored out of their skulls in school. Picture it. Johnny's tapping his pencil, staring out the window, dreaming of building forts or slaying dragons. He's not sick. He's not broken. He's a boy. He's wired to move, to explore, to challenge the world. But the system didn't see a future warrior. They saw a deficit, a disorder. So what did they do? They slapped a label on him, ADHD, and shoved pills down his throat. Ritalin, Adderall, you name it. Chemical handcuffs for millions of kids who dared to wiggle in their chairs. Look, I'm not a doctor, but you don't need to be. I'm a father. This isn't about stethoscopes. It's about common sense. Those quacks were not healing kids. They were doping them into submission. Why? Of course, follow the money. Big Pharma rakes in billions, and they turned our classrooms into their personal petri dishes. Schools got quieter, but sure, at what cost? We traded creativity for compliance, energy for apathy. Boys who could have been inventors, builders, heroes, they're dulled, numbed, turned into zombies, so their teachers wouldn't have to deal with a little chaos or, oh, God forbid, actually have to work to reach the kids. And now, of course, the New York Times is spinning all of it as complex medical health care. Give me a break. This was a massacre of the American spirit. So let's talk about the doctors. Oh, they'll tell you they were the experts. They were following science. Science, that's just a fancy word for dogma when it's bought and paid for. These so-called experts didn't ask why boys were bored. They didn't question a school system that was crushing curiosity with rote memorization and the one-size-fits-all desks. No, they're reaching for the prescription pad faster than you can say stock options. They betrayed parents. They betrayed kids. They told moms and dads, your son's broken, but don't worry, we've got a pill for that. And parents, of course, trusted them, because who wouldn't trust a doctor? Well, look at all their degrees. They're right up there on the wall. That trust was weaponized, folks. It was weaponized against our own children, doing the same thing, by the way, when they're transing the other kids. Maha is about waking up to the nonsense. It's about saying enough is enough. We're not going back to the days when every fidget was a diagnosis, every spark of defiance was a disease. Our boys weren't sick, they were alive. Schools were failing them, not the other way around. You want to fix ADHD? Try fixing education. Let kids run, build, create. Stop warehousing them in soul-crushing classrooms and expect them to sit still for 6 hours. Stop letting drug companies write the playbook for childhood. Yeah, those doctors, they owe us an apology. They owe a generation of men who grew up wondering why they felt foggy, why their fire was snuffed out, an explanation. But don't hold your breath. The medical cartel, they don't admit mistakes. They just double down, and the New York Times cheers them on, and they'll write a piece off like this and say, oh, on to the next one. Yeah, well, not on our watch. We're taking back our health, our kids, our future. No more pills for boredom. No more labels for being human. It's time to let boys be boys again. Wild, free, unstoppable. That's the Maha way. That is the American way. So stand up, fight back, demand better for your kids. Because if we don't, the same system that drugged our kids in the 90s and onward will come for the next generation. And I will not let that happen to my boys. And I hope that you're with me. We'll be right back. Jack Posobiec here, Human Events Daily.
Tried to shut them up.
There's no guarantee to free speech.
They tried to cancel them.
Deplatforming works.
They even threw them in jail.
Peter Navarro,
Steve Bannon,
now in prison.
But they couldn't stop them.
It's not a prison bill that will ever shut me up.
They call them rebels.
Basket of deplorables.
They call them rogues.
They claim to guns or religion.
And they say they're outlaws.
These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
War Room presents Rebels, Rogues, and Outlaws.
You set out to take Vienna.
back to this Real America's Voice news break. I'm Terrence Bates. The man accused of torching Pennsylvania's governor's mansion remains in custody this morning and could answer to attempted murder, terrorism, aggravated arson, and aggravated assault charges as soon as today. The fire forced Democrat Governor Josh Shapiro, his family, and another family to evacuate the burning home on Saturday after they had been celebrating the Jewish holiday of Passover.
This type of violence is not okay. This kind of violence is becoming far too common in our society. And I don't give a damn if it's coming from one particular side or the other, directed at one particular party or another, or one particular person or another. It is not okay. And it has to stop.
Investigators say the suspect scaled a fence and eluded police in order to break into the governor's mansion and set it fire. So far, investigators aren't saying what motivated the attack. By the way, as you can see here in these pictures, the mansion sustained significant damage. The Trump administration is set to launch a national security trade investigation into imported semiconductors and microchips. The move would mostly affect technology from East Asia like China and Taiwan. It also sets the stage, though, for future tariffs on smartphones, computers, and other electronic imports. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick says new tariffs separate from President Trump's reciprocal tariffs will eventually be levied on those products.
Semiconductors and pharmaceuticals will have a tariff model in order to encourage them to reshore, to be built in America. We need our medicines and we need semiconductors and our electronics to be built in America. We can't be beholden and rely upon foreign countries for fundamental things that we need. We can't be relying on China for fundamental things that we need. Our medicines and our semiconductors need to be built in America. Donald Trump is on it. He's calling that out.
And Jack, where's Jack? Where's Jack? Where is he? Jack, I want to see you. Great job, Jack. Thank you. What a job you do. You know, we have an incredible thing. We're always talking about the fake news and the bad, but we have guys, and these are the guys who should be getting Pulitzers.
All right, Jack, so we're back. Human Events Daily, Real America's Voice. Also, Hour 3 here, Washington, D.C. on the Charlie Kirk Show with the Salem Radio Network. Listen up, folks, because I'm about to put you onto something that will change the way you start your day. Blackout Coffee isn't just coffee. It's a wake-up call, a call to rise and grind, a call to push harder, to never compromise on what you stand for. This isn't your average cup of joe. Every bag of Blackout Coffee is roasted with purpose and packed with bold flavor, fueled by the kind of values that built this country: grit, determination, and a refusal to back down. They don't just make coffee, they make a statement. Blackout Coffee is stepping up, adding more warriors to get your orders out faster than ever. So when you hit the Order Now button, you know your coffee's coming fresh and ready to fuel your next move. Whether you're powering through the daily grind, chasing big goals, or just refusing to settle for mediocrity, Blackout Coffee has got your back. Don't just drink coffee, drink Blackout. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/POSO and use promo code POSO for 20% off your first order. Taste the coffee that doesn't just wake you up, it fires you up. That's Blackout Coffee, blackoutcoffee.com/POSO. Okay, we saw that President Bukele was over at the White House just moments ago. He's actually still at the White House right now. I believe, if I understand correctly, they're having lunch right now. It's a working lunch, by the way. We know this is a working meeting with President Trump and President Bukele, El Presidente, there in the White House. And I love, by the way, the information that we're getting out of this, and I love the process that we're getting as well. The process that's being set up, whereby in not only are they sharing, obviously we're deporting our illegals and they're bringing them over to CCOT to El Salvador, but also the process of sharing best practices. What are some of the best practices to deal with the leftists when the courts have issues? What are the best practices that you have to deal with the media when the media has issues, et cetera, et cetera? And so these are things now that could be shared between the two presidents who really understand the best for law and order, mean the best for law and order. One president who's delivered it in El Salvador, and now President Trump, who can expand it writ large on a much wider scale. I want to play a clip of that for you guys right now.
We know that you have a crime problem and a terrorism problem that you need help with. And we're a small country, but if we can help, we will do it. And we actually turned the murder capital of the world, that was the journalists call it, right? Murder capital of the world, into the safest country in the Western Hemisphere. And, you know, sometimes they say that we imprisoned thousands. I like to say that we actually liberated millions. You know, like
it's very good. Who gave him that line? Do you think I can use that?
Yes. And in fact, Mr. President, you have 350 million people to liberate. Yes. But to liberate 350 million people, you have to imprison some. You know, that's the way it works, right? You cannot just free the criminals and think crime's going to go down magically. You have to imprison them so you can liberate 350 million Americans that are asking for the end of crime.
I love that. I love that line. It's not about how many people we incarcerate. It's about how many people we liberate. Exactly. It's not about locking up violent criminals. Isn't about them. It's about them, but it's not about them. We don't do it just because they're violent. Oh no, there's other things we could do in that instance. No, what we're doing is we're providing safety and security so that life can be viable for all of the millions of people that aren't violent, that aren't members of these criminal organizations, that aren't members of foreign terrorist organizations like Tren de Aragua, that aren't members of violent organizations like MS-13, which obviously was infested in El Salvador as well as others. This is why Bukele was elected. This is why President Trump was elected. And not to mention the violent ones, but also we have to talk about the economic criminals. The economic criminals are every single criminal, illegal alien in this country that has come here depressing wages, rising prices on housing, putting pressure on rent for our citizens, for our people, putting pressure on the education system, putting pressure on, by the way, also the healthcare system, which nobody, I've been talking about that. I've literally been talking about that for 20 years. Okay, the hospital that I was born in was torn down because my hometown decided to turn into a sanctuary city. And I wrote an op-ed to my local paper, the Norristown Times-Herald. Probably never, it was like a letter to the editor kind of thing, just like a kid who, lives in the area. And I said, if you do this, it's going to wreck our hotel, our hospital. It's going to wreck our hospital. It's going to tear it down. It's going to destroy it. And they call me racist. Well, guess what? That hospital, Montgomery Hospital, on Powell Street, is now a vacant lot. Hospital where I was born was knocked down. Why? Because illegals would flood into the hospital and use that as their primary source of health care. And they can't be turned away at the emergency room because of federal law. And so it put a massive strain on the hospital. So the new company came in, repurchased the hospital, and they said, let's move it down the road a couple of miles. We don't want it here. Now, entire building was raised. But guess what? We defeated racism. Yay! We defeated racism. No, it's not about that. It's about what these people do. It's about the path and swath of destruction in their wake. And they don't care. They don't care how many communities, how many towns, how many civilizations they will destroy. So it's not about, again, it's not about how many people get locked up. It's about how many people are kept safe, how many people are protected, how many communities are thriving because of your policies. Why don't you judge me based on that, not judge me based on the things that I did to provide that to you? Okay? Judge me based on that. This is the blanket of safety. Do you want it or not? Because if you take off that blanket, that's when the really bad things start happening. The really, really bad things start happening. You see Luigi's out there? How many times have I come on this program and warned about that? And now we see them firing off all over the place. From Harrisburg to Wisconsin. They're all over. Another one up in Butler. Talked about it earlier. Yeah. That's when the really crazy stuff starts. So, folks, when it comes to protecting and providing law and order, I know I'm talking about illegal aliens and I'm talking about this, but it's bigger. This is a bigger concept, what Bukele is talking about here. And yes, he's exactly right, by the way. And Stephen Miller is exactly right on these cases. They say, oh, you have to bring him back. I said, what do you mean bring him back? He's not a citizen. He has no right to be in our country. These individuals who have been deported, say you didn't deport him the right way. Say, excuse me? He has no legal right to be in this country. If you don't have a legal right to be in this country, you're not allowed to be here. I don't care what a judge says. You can't change that. Just because your opinion is that person, no, there's no legal right anywhere in any law, no matter what your opinion is or what you say, you're just wrong. You're wrong on the facts that every person in the world has a right to be in this country. That's not true. That's not true at all. And neither should every American have to compete in the labor market or for healthcare or for education or for housing with everyone in the world. There's 8 billion people in the world, and every American worker is supposed to have to compete with that? No. Absolutely not. That is not the wave that MAGA rode in on. That is not the wave that put President Trump and this administration in office. It was the wave that our people will be protected, both from criminality and economically. So for safety and prosperity, peace and prosperity, right? So it all comes down to peace in your home, peace abroad, and prosperity. This is how it's provided. You got to clean up the mess. And there was a big, big, big mess that was left by the previous administration. So it's about economic sanity. And I'm so sorry, but we are going to be putting public safety over your feelings. Oh, my feelings are hurt. By the way, I love the hairdresser one. So the hairdresser one, this one drives me nuts because it also shows that you have a fundamental misunderstanding of how these organizations work and how these criminal cartels work. Let's say, wait, this guy was just a hairdresser. He's just a hairdresser. Oh, he's just a hairdresser. He's just a hairdresser. And the administration says he's MS-13 or Tren de Aragua. Have you never heard of a front operation? Do you have any base? Have you literally just watched one episode of Breaking Bad? I think there's actually a couple episodes of Breaking Bad where they use a salon to launder some of the drug money at one point. Literally, he's just a hairdresser. Oh, he's just a hairdresser. Oh, he's just running a car wash too, right? Guys, think for 2 seconds how these operations actually work. And it turns out that the real world actually doesn't operate like some little Hollywood movie or something, right? It's reality. So yeah, there are drug front operations. You see them all over in the DC area, by the way. There are areas, PG County and others, where they'll use Chinese restaurants as a front. They'll use, like I said, salons. It's any really big cash business. It's any business that has a lot of cash running through. That's a great opportunity for the cartels, for any drug organization, any narco organization to use as a front. And again, it's all those people watch Breaking Bad and it's oh, we're going to pay attention to characters. Oh, Walt did this. And, oh, the wife is sleeping with Ted, blah, blah, to get back at him and all that. It's okay, but did you actually understand how any of it worked? No, you didn't care. You didn't care at all. And by the way, that's a lot of GoFundMe, by the way. It works the exact same way. If you look at the crowdfund operation that they use for money laundering it's clearly how Act Blue works, as James O'Keefe has demonstrated. So if you just watch the show and actually apply some of that stuff to real life, or The Wire, that at one of these shows that actually shows you how criminal organizations work, guess what? That is how they work, by and large, right? And so, oh, he's just a hairdresser. He's just spare me. I think actually they use a strip club in The Wire as one of the front organizations, and they use real estate. And they use all sorts of things because guess what? That's where the money goes. And so, yes, you need guys who don't look like they're quote unquote members of the gang. That's the point. That's how the gang operates right in your own towns, right in your own cities, right under your nose. You might be driving by it every single day and not realize that store at the end of the drive, at the end of the mini mall, at the end of the strip mall, is actually a front operation for MS-13, for Tren de Aragua. And what President Trump and his administration are doing is giving you your country back, whether you like it or not. We'll be right back.
gentlemen, excuse me for just a moment.
King Arthur!
Get down from there!
1, 2, 3!
You are not King Arthur!
Charles, you're going to tell him a great story about forgiveness.
Can we do this without the cat?
Stop right there.
Our story begins 2,000 years ago when baby Jesus came into the world.
Wait, stop. If it's not about a king, then I'm not interested.
This story is about the King of Kings. It is a great story.
When I'm working long hours, I'm always listening to Human Events with Jack Posobiec.
All right, folks, we're back here. Final segment on Human Events Daily. Want to thank Real America's Voice as well as the Salem Radio Network audience with the third hour of the Charlie Kirk Show. Folks, we got big movie news out of Hollywood, out of the box office. And people say, Poso, why do you care so much about movies? Why do you care? Why do you talk about this? Because look, movies are how America, not increasingly as much, but still in many respects, movies are how the American people can vote with their dollars. This shows you a pulse. It's a snapshot, but been trying to over the last couple of years to really explain to people that the way the movie market, the box office works, is actually a better snapshot of the American people than opinion polls, than all this other stuff out there. And so when I'm talking about what's going on in the culture, you have to understand this is where the American people are. So if you want, it's not about like, oh, did I like, Snow White or whatever, Little Mermaid. No, it's not about that. It's about what is America responding to. Well, guess what? America just took a big old tomato from Rotten Tomatoes, an actual Rotten Tomato, and hurled it at the screen, I guess, when it comes to Snow White. This movie is a global disaster. It's a disaster with its hair on fire. It's a disaster that was poisoned worse than the poison apple. I think more people were rooting for the apple than they were for Snow White. So the idea was that they were going to, again, we talked about this, the race swapping, the changing of the main character, taking out someone who, again, we know that her skin is as white as snow. That's right in the title. And they were going to put this person in who has this strange Rachel Zegler anti-male bias. Whenever she gives interviews, she talks about how much she doesn't like the source material, how much she didn't like the original one. She said the original Snow White was dated. She said there were problems with it. Remember, Snow White, this was the movie that built Disney. This was a movie that Walt Disney himself carefully crafted. Every single frame, every single cell of the animation was from Walt Disney, the man himself. That's why that movie took off and became the blockbuster phenomenon that it was, and literally put Disney on the map with Disneyland opening, years later. So the movie is a disaster, completely destroyed. Rachel Zegler's career is in flames. Disney looks like they may have lost. People are telling me, depending on estimates, $300 to $400 million on this project. But of course, to the unhumans, the cultural destruction is the point. They want you to suffer. But here's the good news, folks. While audiences completely rejected Snow White, what are they embracing? Boom. King of Kings. This movie, it's getting blockbuster status now. King of Kings just broke another record. So 2 record-setting movies here. One for Snow White for being one of the worst movies ever, and another called King of Kings. This movie, which is from Angel Studios, of course, the same guys who did Sound of Freedom. They do The Chosen, which, by the way, also has a version of The Last Supper. I think it's like the first 2-3 episodes of that season are now available in theaters right now. They did King of Kings. So it's Charles Dickens' telling of the Passion of the Christ is up as an animated movie. It's out at Easter, and it just set a record for the highest animated biblical-based movie of all time. Of all time. And so here you go, folks. Here you go. I think Moses, Prince of Egypt was the last one. And that was like 20 years ago. Folks, there's an audience that wants this again. All of this stuff does well at the box office. America is shifting back from the cultural destruction of postmodernism and the deconstruction of narratives of Snow White. And they're actually find me a story, right? King of Kings, and I get attacked for saying Christ is king. Find me a story that is widely accepted in the world that is more ancient, right? More ancient than the story of Christ. Than that actual story directly from a Bible. It's 2,000 years old. Everybody knows it. So think about it. Are we saying, is that dated? Is it dated? No, I'll give you an example. It's not dated. I'll give you, well, actually, correction. I'll give you an education. Some things will never be dated because some things are timeless, because some things are greater than, because some things will never end. Some things are infinite. Some things are, and in this case, very literally, divine. There is no greater story ever told than the passion of the Christ. And presenting that for children has become, and this is going to be, it's going to be a movie that everybody watches every Easter with their kids. I know that certainly we will. That's this movie. Go see King of Kings. You're going to love it. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, you have my permission.
tried to shut them up.
There's no guarantee to free speech.
They tried to cancel them.
Deplatforming works.
They even threw them in jail.
Peter Navarro,
Steve Bannon,
now in prison.
But they couldn't stop them.
It's not a prison built that will ever shut me up.
It's going to hear the people's voice.
The truth the mainstream won't touch.
This guy is, by definition, a globalist.
And the stories that matter.
Rav's own Ben Berquam.
Right up over this hill. We got armed cartel. I see him.
Live.
Breaking news right now here on Real America's Voice.
Unfiltered.
These people are domestic terrorists.
And unapologetic.
We're here to take a stand for God and country. Does feel good, doesn't it?
America's Voice Live starts now.
And welcome to America's Voice Live. I'm Steve Gruber. It is Monday, the 14th of April. Let's get into the day's top stories. Thank you, as always, for being here and spending time on Real America's Voice. President Trump met with El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele in the Oval Office earlier today, where they really gave it to CNN's Caitlin Collins and others for asking Bukele if he would basically smuggle an MS-13 gang member back to the United States. It wasn't all that well received. Also, Mark Zuckerberg's Meta facing a historic antitrust trial held by the Federal Trade Commission today. The social media giant could be forced to split up. More details on that coming. And then later, the trade war between the U.S. and China continues as both countries face extremely high tariffs posed on each other. After Friday's tariffs hike, many are wondering what the future holds. Right now, I can tell you that the markets are in the green for the day. The details on all of this. But first, we start here today. Never a dull moment. That's for sure. It's based on just what you just heard right there. Happy Holy Week, by the way. It's going to be a big week at the White House. It already is, like always, for 100 different reasons. But the president still plans to celebrate the Easter holiday this week with a message for Christians across our nation and the world, followed by the usual festivities. His administration says his remarks will include a commitment to maintaining the rights of Christians, especially in places like schools, the military, the workplace, and well beyond. I like to hear it. But that's not all on the agenda. First, a quick look ahead to the markets. They're in the green, like I said, and it looks like it could be another positive day on Wall Street when it's all said and done. Not by much, but a little, and it's not a bloodbath. It's not a bull market or a bear market. It's just kind of there. As you would expect, the president will continue to go to bat for his American trade policies this week, while China continues to back itself into a corner of the United States, busy running the world's biggest group projects. Negotiations now with 130 different countries, we're told. Listen to this.
In the previous administration, you could sort of say, if you're thinking about it in the football analogy, is that they were running out the clock. And that what's going on now in the Trump administration is across a wide array of policy areas, we're in a 2-minute offense. And the 2-minute offense is pushing, as you've seen, the reconciliation bill through so that we get tax relief for American people, deregulation, and, of course, trade policy. Now, in the trade policy, the whole point of the trade policy is to address the national emergency that we're too dependent on foreign products in the U.S., especially if we were at a time of conflict, and we're doing something about that. And the Reciprocal Act was basically, guys, if you come to the table and negotiate with us and treat us the same way we treat you, then we'll get your rate really low. And so right now, 130 countries have responded, and we're negotiating with them, and they've got their rate down to 10%.
Down to 10% across the board. That's a little bit for everybody going both directions, but 10%'s 10%. But look, we're not just talking about swapping bananas and T-shirts. These deals cover AI, clean energy, rare earth minerals, and cybersecurity. You know, all the good stuff that our future relies on. The plan, it's not actually that complicated. Now, that's not to say it won't be difficult, but it's not complicated. Fix old deals. Ditch sketchy suppliers. Remind China that the U.S. still gives main character energy. That's right. We're the big dog in the block. And we're not just hitting China with tariffs, by the way. We're taking back significant sway over the Panama Canal, where Chinese influence has reigned for far too long. Listen to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth tout that win. Here he is.
China's influence cannot control our own backyard, especially a critical waterway, key terrain like the Panama Canal. You mentioned 40% of ships are U.S. ships. 75% are going to or from a port. So we were able to secure 2 historic agreements. One with the Panama Canal Authority, that our ships, our military vessels and auxiliary vessels will travel first and free through that Panama Canal. And then we also signed a memorandum of understanding with the defense secretary over there and the president that established a robust and growing U.S. presence.
All right. President Xi's not going to like that, but we're not bowing to the whims of the CCP anymore. President Trump is making that, well, crystal clear. The Panamanian president wants to be in the hands and the trust of the United States, not China. And he's not the only leader partnering with Donald Trump. No, President Bukele of El Salvador in town today, meeting with Trump. And we're going to have a lot more on that coming up. They're talking about supermax prisons. They're taking aim at CNN, and they're going to talk about the worst violent illegal aliens. Bukele has delivered a masterclass in taking back his country in the last several years. In 2020, I want you to think about this. El Salvador was listed as a level 4 do not travel destination. Do not go there. It's not safe. Today, it's a level 1 destination, listed as one of the safest tourism destinations in the world. I mean, what a turnaround. And why is that? Because he wasn't afraid to put the bad guys behind bars and keep them there. And now he's going to partner with us even more to do that even more, especially considering President Trump's latest win in the Supreme Court, the court ruling that he has the authority to deport violent criminals in our country illegally. Again, these are the worst of the worst. And believe me, even these Democrats screaming they should stay, they don't want these people in their neighborhoods. They want them in yours. And, of course, President Trump has the authority to toss these monsters out, even though activist judges tried to stop him. But this week, we will see even more criminals exiting the country in droves thanks to that ruling, while the left continues to bemoan the fact that the Supreme Court sided with Trump. Listen to this.
And again, the big question that a lot of people have here is, does the Alien Enemies Act, can it be used at all? The court did not rule on that. I suppose they may never, although one would think it will work its way back up to them again. Did it give any hint, in your reading of this, any hint on where they may go here?
No, although I am disturbed that they didn't at least give us a hint that this may not be a proper use of the act. And I'm also really disturbed, John, by their failure to engage with the bad faith of the administration here in rushing these people onto a plane, in not releasing the proclamation publicly, in rushing them despite the fact they had a court hearing in place where they had a good reason to believe that the judge was going to stop them. All of that also remains unsaid, which to me emboldens the administration to try to keep pushing these limits.
And don't forget, I mean, seriously, do not forget, these are MS-13 gang members, Tren de Aragua, and others that they're defending, gang members who were never supposed to be in this country in the first place. In fact, during his conversation, Bukele talked about a gang member tossed out of this country 6 times. Well, this time he ended up in El Salvador. These gang members are also poisoning Americans with lethal amounts of fentanyl. 1 million Americans have died from fentanyl so far. I mean, this has to stop. This is a good step. Let's be sober and have the conversation. Kash Patel also revealing that the FBI just completed one of the most successful counter-narcotics efforts in American history, intercepting $500 million in drugs. That's right, making America safer. Meanwhile, President Trump snagged another win in the courts, aside from the ruling on the Alien Enemies Act, in a decision that now allows him to finish firing probationary federal employees. More than 16,000 probationary employees who have been deemed not necessary, who were hired in the last few months or years of the Biden administration. And the taxpayer will not have to foot the bill now. And look, I'm sorry. Some people are going to lose their jobs. But we have to fix this country financially. There's a cost to that. Some people actually have to go find jobs in the private sector. Yes, it's an inconvenience and maybe even worse, but it has to happen. This is just one simple way in which this administration is cutting costs and slashing regulations. Its efforts are resulting in lower inflation, higher wages, and cheaper energy, which is critical to America going forward. And efficient government saves money for all Americans, you and me included. The White House also now reporting that several of President Trump's deregulation policies will save the average American family. Get this. The average family of 4 will save $11,000 over the coming years. And if you're above average, maybe more of that, because I like to feel myself as being above average, and hopefully you are too. Meanwhile, our friends over at Just the News have been pouring over 700 pages of declassified documents to give Donald Trump another decisive win. They come from the Crossfire Hurricane disgrace, the collusion of our nation's intelligence leaders with the DNC and the Clinton campaign and the networks to push the Russia hoax. And the crimes, well, they seem to be stacking up. I'm talking about falsification of evidence, FISA abuse, foreign agents, Registration Act violations, campaign finance violations, misuse of classified information, obstruction of justice, you name it, it's probably here. These declassified documents reveal that Christopher Steele and his business associates explicitly named President Trump as their, quote, main opponent and valued their relationship with the Clinton campaign more than the relationship with the FBI. This from Just the News, by the way, reporting on one classified interview, quote, Steele explained that as the election season went on, they as a company were riding two horses, their client and the FBI. And after FBI Director James Comey's reopening of the Hillary Clinton investigation, they had to pick one horse and chose the business-client relationship over the relationship with the FBI. But that didn't stop the FBI from using Steele's dossier as the cornerstone of the Russia collusion hoax, knowing that his loyalty was to the Clintons, not to our national security, not to our country and its voters. Now, if you've been paying attention, this isn't new. But one new name did make the list, a paid informant who the FBI raked in $70,000 for spying on President Trump's campaign. His name is Stephen Halper. And your tax dollars have paid him more than $1.2 million over the years. Why? He was an informant. He was a snitch, always misleading people. Even though he's been discredited, he was the one to make the claim that General Michael Flynn was in bed with a Russian woman. The FBI, by the way, deemed that claim not plausible, not accurate. They kept on him anyway. Flynn's reputation, well, it took the hit. These newly released documents also reveal that then NSA Director Mike Rogers debunked a Washington Post article in 2017 on the Russia hoax. The article claimed that President Trump asked intelligence chiefs to push back against the FBI collusion probe, and Rogers told the Mueller team that nothing of the sort happened. But that article went on to win a Pulitzer Prize in 2018 for outstanding journalism, even though it was all fake. And they wonder why President Trump loves to call the media fake news. Well, that's a pretty good reason. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard says that the declassification of these files gives the intelligence community a chance to make things right. Finally. Listen.
So President Trump is very serious, obviously, about working to achieve that maximum transparency. That transparency will allow us to bring about accountability around the Russia collusion hoax, for example. The more we dig, the more we find the extent of the seriousness and the intent of that whole operation was very consistent with what we found in Stalin's operation. Show me the man and I'll show you the crime. It is disheartening to see these things, but it also provides us the opportunity to tell the American people the truth about what's been going on so that we can make sure we try to bring about an end to it and bring about that accountability.
Yeah, now this declassification proves once and for all that entire hoax was exactly that, a hoax. It was all fake. Now, from President Bukele, speaking of winning, by the way, Donald Trump now entertaining the Ohio State University Buckeyes and their national championship team. Brian Glenn is at the White House for us right now as this football team, the national championship team, is on hand there. Brian, how are you?
Hey, Steve. Good afternoon from the South Lawn here at the White House on this beautiful Monday.
Yeah, what a beautiful Monday. What a shift from President Bukele of El Salvador and the fireworks in the Oval Office, which we're going to get to more here a little bit later in the program, to the Ohio State football team, the national champions. That's quite a compare and contrast, isn't it?
It is, but last week we had the L.A. Dodgers on Monday, and why not follow it up with another sports champion? But that's kind of what makes President Trump, I think, special, as he is a fan of the sports. I was just with him over the weekend at the UFC fight, so he enjoys meeting the champions of any sport. And so, yeah, well, what a major shift today from immigration and to all of the topics around that to college football. And I'm just standing off camera because we are on the main media riser. We can give you an idea of what it looks like Steve, as we continue our conversation. We've got probably a couple hundred people on this South Lawn. We've got the players who are really on both sides of the stage about to walk down and hopefully, Steve, get into the goal line formation maybe as they get ready to punch this last celebration for their championship in.
Yeah, you know, it's hard for me, Brian. I'm not going to kid you. I'm from Michigan. But, you know, the Buckeyes are the national champions, so I tip my hat to the Ohio State University. I'll give you the last word.
You're a good man, Steve, for doing that. I know that there's several people that I've talked to have kind of gritting their teeth watching this program or having to cover this program, but you're a good man. You're tipping your hat as a gentleman that you are and a good sportsman. But, yeah, what a busy day here at the White House. But, hey, the meeting earlier, like you said, there was some fireworks in that Oval Office.
Yeah, in fact, we're going to cover that after the break. Brian Glenn, thank you as always. He's on hand. What a beautiful day there on the South Lawn, as Brian pointed out. Beautiful day in the nation's capital. So we'll take a break. We're going to talk about President Bukele coming up, being in there and saying, look, we'll help you any way we can, Mr. President. We'll talk about that straight ahead. It was a colorful day in the Oval Office. El Salvadoran President Bukele was there. And as I said before, never a dull moment. CNN's Caitlin Collins asked President Bukele about returning an MS-13 member back to the U.S. Got a little colorful. Look at this.
Do you plan to return him?
Well, most people are suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right? How can I return him to the United States? Like, I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
So you can release him inside El Salvador?
Yeah, but I'm not releasing. I mean, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. I mean, we just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world. No, that's not going to happen.
I don't understand what the confusion is. This individual is a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegally in the United States and was returned to his country. That's where you deport people, back to their country of origin.
And they said that it must be facilitated.
Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that? Why do you go over and over? And that's why nobody watches you anymore. You know, you have no credibility. Please go ahead.
Ouch. Kayla Collins getting pummeled again. You know, and I'm seeing people here on social media saying, well, her White House pass should be revoked. I completely disagree. We'll see what my next guest thinks, former Congressman, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. Colonel, I think that folks like this should certainly have the access to these events because it demonstrates how out of touch they are, how ridiculous they are. Chicken Noodle News is what it is. Just keep it on display, I say. What are your thoughts?
It was good to be with you, Steve, and you're absolutely right. I will pay for more microphone time for Caitlin Collins, for AOC, and for Jasmine Crockett, because if those are the voices, if those are the faces of the Democrat Party, yes, because they're going to help to keep them and drive them into political exile.
Yeah, you know, I don't know who else caught this. Dana Bash just a short while ago on CNN had to come back and give a disclaimer. We at CNN do not hate America. Oh, okay. That's. I mean, if you're telling, you have to get on camera and say we don't hate America. You might hate America. I'm just throwing it out there. But let's look at the bigger points here. Bukele's here. This gangbanger is not coming back. It's a Salvadoran citizen. They're not sending him back. And in fact, Donald Trump was discussing with him the possibility of sending American citizens that have committed heinous crimes to these prisons in El Salvador. I don't know if he's serious. What do you make of that comment?
You probably can't do that because Americans do have due process and they do have constitutional rights, and we can keep them here in our own penal system. At worst case, maybe you could send them to Guantanamo Bay, which is a part of American territory. But I think the bigger picture that we have to come to look at and understand is you're looking at a party that continues to align itself with individuals that mean harm to this country, being it MS-13, a Trinidad gang members, or even the Mahmoud Khalil issue where they're supporting someone and standing behind someone that was inciting violence on our college and university campuses. So, yes, I think that the Democrat Party right now, they can come out and say they don't hate America, but these media outlets and their talking heads are, without a doubt, doing everything that makes people believe that they do.
Yeah, well, their actions speak for themselves, and that's what we have to live with. Their actions speak for themselves. But as far as illegals being shipped to El Salvador, I think that's I heard Stephen Miller say that's a 90-10 issue. I think he's right in the Oval Office today. He says a 90-10 issue. Americans don't want gangbangers in their neighborhood. They want them out of here. And if they go to El Salvador, I don't think people in those neighborhoods care.
No, they don't, and they want them out of the country. And again, why is it that everyone is crying in their milk about someone that was here illegally? He is not a citizen of the United States of America. He's a citizen of El Salvador. And why would we have, back in, I think it was 2019, some judge ruling that this person that is here illegally can stay here? We've got to clean out our court system because we have people that are not there interpreting the law. They're being judicial activists and, again, supporting the illegal immigrants and against citizens of the United States of America. No one wants to see any more Laken Riley incidents. No one wants to see any more Jocelyn Nungery incidents.
Colonel, I gotta do it twice in one program. I gotta jump and toss it over to Donald Trump, who's going to honor the Ohio State Buckeyes. Sir, thank you for being here. Here's the President of the United States.
That's a good-looking group behind me. and they're big. We're not going to get into any fights with them, I can guarantee you that. So I want to just congratulate everybody. Coach, you have done some job, man. But today is my great honor to welcome the 2024 college football national champions, the Ohio State University Buckeyes. And it turns out January 20th was a big day for all of us. That's true. That was a big day. I love that day. We'll never forget that day. To Ohio State President Ted Carter. Ted, where is Ted? Ted, congratulations. Good job, Ted. Wow. Athletic Director Ross Bjork. Ross, where's Ross? There's. Hi, Ross. Congratulations. Did you know they were this good? He said, absolutely. That's a good answer. To Coach Ryan Day, who, and I have to read this because this is not part of it, but they gave me a little briefing. I knew how good a coach. I didn't know he was that good. It's Ryan Day, head coach at the Ohio State University. So here's just a little summary. Ryan was named head coach in December 2018. Think of this. First of all, he's a very young-looking guy. He's got a lot of time left. In his 6 seasons as head coach, Day has led the team to 9 championship wins. You don't do that. He's currently the only coach to lead his team to the college football playoffs 4 times since 2019. And his first season as head coach, and Coach Day's overall coaching record, 70-10. So in other words, Ryan, I'd like to be your agent. I want to represent you. And he won the big one, right? He won the big one. That's the biggest of them all. That's fantastic. Let me have your hand here, man. It's an amazing achievement at a young age, and the entire team and everybody up here, we want to thank you and congratulate you, because this building behind you, there's nothing like it. I have a lot of buildings. This is the one. This one you can't beat. The White House. And I think, the coach was all excited about it. I threw it out just hoping that it wouldn't be a big deal. I said, Coach, afterwards, if you'd like, but only if you'd like, don't worry about it. We could take the team down to the Oval Office and show them what the Oval Office is, because it is spectacular. Oh, yeah. And I don't know if the floor can withstand it. That's the only one. But we're going to do that. And, I've done some Trump touches to the Oval Office. It's a little nicer than it used to be, I think. And most people, a lot nicer. You're right about that. No, it's special. Everything begins, ends, and re-begins at the Oval Office. And so we're going to take the team down there right when we're finished, okay? If anyone doesn't want to go, that would be okay. Who's going? Everybody? Okay. Okay. We look forward to it. Also with us are many Ohio State fans from my administration, and the biggest of them all, of course, is our Vice President, who's been fantastic, a faithful Buckeye alum, J.D. Vance. J.D., he's something. But he was such a good student, he didn't stay there for 4 years. He got out in 2 years, #1 in his class. How do you do that? Do you have any better students than that? Better football players, yes. I don't know about students. But JD's doing a great job. Thanks as well to Secretary of State Marco Rubio for being here. Marco, you're doing incredible. Thank you. As well as Representatives Warren Davidson and Mike Carey. Fellas, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Governor Mike DeWine. Mike, where are you? Hi, Mike. Doing a great job. Attorney General Dave Yost. Dave, congratulations on everything. Secretary of State Frank LaRose. Frank, thank you, Frank. Mayor Trent Conaway. I love Trent Conaway. Where's Trent Conaway? Where are you, Trent? Look at him, that guy from East Palestine. I think, you're the reason they say that was, I visited and Biden didn't. And when I went there, and I went there right after the problem, right? And I met Trent, and I love Trent. But a lot of people give you a lot of credit for the success that we've had, because we won in a huge stampede in a landslide. And I want to thank you. And you've been a great mayor, and you went through a lot. And we took care of you. We helped, and other people didn't. But you were a big stop in the first one, so thank you for being here. It's good to see you again. Thank you very much. Really nice. And, of course, the Ohio State legend. He's a current Lieutenant Governor, Jim Tressel. Jim, thank you. Where's Jim? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much. He is a legend. Thanks also to my friends J.J. Cafaro and the Schottenstein family. They're here somewhere. There they are. Hi, fellas. Good to have you. This was a historic year in college football, standing together today. These men in the first college, think of that, are the first college football players in history who can proudly call themselves 12-team playoff champions. You're the first ones, that's right. You had to go through a lot. That's not easy. You're the first ones. Congratulations, Coach. This team showed the world that the road to greatness is paved by hard work, sweat, and often a great deal of adversity. They had a lot of adversity because I shouldn't say this. I actually said, should I leave this line out? And they said, sir, they're saying, yes, leave it out. Sir, they want to hear the whole thing, the bad and the good, right? But many people counted you out, as you know, after the losses against Oregon, which is a great team, and that team up north. We won't talk about it. But you refused to let the Buckeye Nation down. You got better and better and tougher as the season went along. And after a very strong regular season, but with adversity, you held a closed-door, players-only meeting. This extraordinary group rallied together for a single glorious mission to win 4 straight playoff games against the finest teams in college football. And you were able to do it, obviously. In the first playoff game, Tennessee quarterback Will Howard scorched the Volunteer defense. I watched that game. I said, that guy is good. Defense for 311 yards and completed 24 of 29 passes. Known for his accuracy, strong arm, but boy, is he known for his accuracy. Where's Will? I want to see this guy. Right here. Where are you? You are fantastic. Oh, he's going to be so rich. Think of that. To look like that and to play, that's a good combination. But Will went on to set an all-time college football playoff record with 1,150 yards passing. That's an incredible thing. Great to meet you. Going to be watching you for a long time, I think, okay? We'll be watching him for about 15 years, maybe longer. The next game was a chance at redemption against the top-ranked Oregon Ducks, which was a tough team. It was a total team effort by Ohio State. In the first half, the Buckeyes built an insurmountable 34-point lead thanks to the scores from veteran playmaker Tavion Henderson. Where is he? Tavion. Oh, man, get on. You think I could beat him in a race? I don't know. Great going. And Ohio State, and also your receptions leader, Emeka Ibuka. Where is he? Look at this guy. Congratulations, fellas. How important were they to your passing?
Oh, they were everything.
Okay, that's good. You said the right thing. Then came the team's biggest test in the semifinals, a trip to Texas for the Cotton Bowl. And that Texas was pretty much rated the #1 team at the beginning of the season, right? So that was a tough team. I know that. It was neck and neck late in the fourth quarter. Texas was down a score, but marching in the red zone with 2 minutes left on the 4th and 8. With 2:29 on the clock, hometown legend Jack Sawyer. Boy, that's a good name. Jack Sawyer. It sounds like the name of a legend, right? A son of Columbus. We won Columbus by a lot of points. I like it. Gave the world an all-time great Ohio State football moment. Most of you know what I'm talking about. In one amazing play, Jack exploded off the line, strip-sacked the quarterback, which is not easy to do, scooped the fumble recovery, scored an 83-yard touchdown return, and punched Ohio State's ticket to the championship game. Yeah, that's a hell of a thing. You mean you took the ball out of the quarterback's hand? I don't want to say this. I don't want to make. How do you think that other team feels? Not too good. That's one of those disasters for another team, right? No, that quarterback doesn't feel good. Where is he? I want to see this guy.
Phenomenal.
Are you that fast that you can get down?
I had some great blockers leading the way. First time we got caught, probably.
That's unbelievable, actually. Size of these guys. I used to think I was quite a big fellow, not so much anymore. But he later said that it was the best feeling he'd ever felt. Are you sure about that, Jack? I don't know about that. As he gets older, who knows? But I don't think he's ever going to forget it. And Jack, you earned it, and congrats. That's really special. So you thought that game it was maybe over, Coach? What do you think?
That's when I felt like we were going to win.
You felt like it was going to. That's why he's a good coach. He felt he was going to win. That was pretty amazing. That was, and the other team was tough, right?
They were a good team.
Will they be good again this season?
We open up the first game with them next year.
Oh, you have the first game with them. Wow, that's tough. And a lot of your players are coming back, but quite a few great ones are leaving, right?
The NFL.
How do you feel about to the NFL? That's the good thing about every one of them goes. How do you feel about that?
We're excited about next
I'll bet you're going to do great. But the Buckeyes have defied the critics, but the job just wasn't finished. This tremendous team needed one more win for the ultimate victory, the national championship game against Notre Dame. Offensive MVP Will Howard led the charge again, completing 14 of his first 15 passes. I'm telling you, the guy has an accurate arm. How many times do I have to tell you that? Quinshon Judkins reached the end zone 3 times. Where the hell is he? Three times, defensive MVP Cody Simon stuffed the Fighting Irish rushing attack. Where's Cody? Do you notice the way they're sitting in like a little trench? I didn't want them at the same level. Actually, it was really, but I feel very good about that, JD, right?
Yes, sir.
They're a little bit, keep them down a little bit. But offensive MVP Will Howard led that charge, and really these people are going places that going to be very exciting in the future. We're going to be watching them all on Sundays and for a long time to come, I believe. Many of the people behind us. But Cody Simon, that was a very important deal, and Buckeye star Jeremiah Smith pulled down the unforgettable deep ball on 3rd and 11 to clinch the championship. Where's Jeremiah? I shouldn't say this, but the coach was giving Jeremiah some major praise backstage. I said, so what's the future? He said, well, we have a guy. He may be the best ever. That's a lot to think about, Jeremiah. Just be real good. Go be Jerry Rice, right? Who's your favorite?
Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice? Yeah, Jerry Rice is a great guy, too. But Jeremiah was the only freshman that was just at a level that few people have ever seen before, according to what I hear. And nobody could stop him all year long, even as a freshman. And let's not forget the resilient offensive line that helped Will achieve this record-breaking season. Get ready, fellas. Come on up here. Josh Fryer, Luke Montgomery, Carson Heinzman, Tegra Shabola, Austin Saraveld, and Donovan Jackson stepped up when you needed him most, and they protected this valuable quarterback. It's nice when they can say, we're going to the NFL with Other people said, "Do you think I could make it?" You're going early from what I hear. Good luck, fellas. Thank you. Good luck on the end.
Thank you, sir.
Fantastic. I'm looking at him. What's he doing?
I'm short compared to these guys, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great job.
Thanks, sir.
That's
Thank you
great
all.
job.
Thank you.
That's so important. That offensive line is so important. We have, you have no idea. I've seen teams that were great, but they didn't have the offensive line, and it just doesn't work out, right, Will? You beat the Fighting Irish that day, 34-23, and for the first time in 10 years, proudly claimed the title of the great state of Ohio, the great state. I love that state. We won that state in a landslide, Governor. We won it in a landslide. I love Ohio. We'll never let you down, I swear, I promise. And if I let you down, he won't, okay? So you have a backup. But I do love the place. And so today I'm honored to call the Ohio State University Buckeyes national champions. You're the national champions, and you're standing right here at the White House. And it's a proud day for all of us, but it's a proud day for the Scarlet and Gray. Congratulations once again. And, Coach, you are a fantastic person. I got to know him just a little bit back there, and I realized almost immediately that he's really a special guy. And to your wife and your three beautiful children, congratulations. And I'm going to ask JD to say a couple of words. It's an honor to have everybody at the White House. You are a very special group from a special state, the state of Ohio. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Thanks to Coach Day and the entire team for being here at the White House. I'm so proud to be part of Team Scarlet and Gray today. Congratulations to the Ohio State Buckeyes on a hell of a 2024 season. Now, I want to say just a couple of words about this team because they really helped make, sir, an incredible year even better for this very proud Ohio State alum. So two things. First of all, I made a bet with Ted Cruz over the Texas game, a bet that he is still not paid up on. Ted Cruz, if you're watching on TV, and I don't like losing any bet, but I really don't want to lose a bet to Ted Cruz. So thank you all for helping me win that bet against Ted Cruz. And the second thing, I asked the president on January the 20th, I said, sir, would you mind if I skipped that final inaugural ball to go to the Ohio State National Championship game? And the president said, no, but we'll have him at the White House. So here we are celebrating that national title. And I just want to say I'm proud of you guys. You guys were resilient. You were tough. You represented the state of Ohio well, and you represented the whole country well. And the last thing that I'll say is I don't know who let the guy over in the corner here in a Michigan hat into this celebration, but I'm about to tell the Secret Service you've got a dangerous weapon, sir. But I just want to say, proud of this team, Mr. President. Thank you for hosting, and thanks to the whole state of Ohio for showing up and cheering for our Buckeyes. God bless you guys.
Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, and other distinguished guests, on behalf of The Ohio State University, the Department of Athletics, thank you for inviting the national championship Ohio State Buckeyes to the White House this afternoon. I'd like to thank Ohio State President Ted Carter, members of the Ohio delegation here with us today, Governor DeWine, Lieutenant Governor Tressel, Athletics Director Ross Bjork, and all the staff members for their work and efforts to make this trip to the White House a reality. We're honored and humbled to be here, celebrating with you our 9th national championship in our great university's history. To be here surrounded by our players, staff, university leadership is a moment we'll never forget. Traveling to D.C., though, was the easy part. Earning the right to be here was the hard one. This team made history by winning the most difficult series of games in the history of college football, defeating number 7, Tennessee, number 1, Oregon in the Rose Bowl, number 3, Texas in the Cotton Bowl, and number 5, Notre Dame in the national championship. Back to back to back to back. No team's ever done that. No team's ever done that. And through discipline and execution, this team dominated, finished the mission, and left no doubt. It all started with a group of 4th and 5th year seniors. They chose each other. They chose Ohio State, and they built and lived a culture of brotherhood, toughness, and love. When adversity hit, they stood tall, stuck together, showed their true character, rose to the occasion, and became champions. There's a quote I love from President Roosevelt, displayed proudly in our team room, the man in the arena. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, who strives valiantly, comes up short again and again, but who does actually strive to do the deeds. This quote reminds us of the true honor that belongs to those who rise to the challenge and stand in the arena unwavered. It took every challenge, and we responded with heart, with grit, and with determination. That's why this moment means so much to us. Our families, thank you so much for your love and your support along the way. To our coaches, thank you for your hard work and for your leadership. And to our players, thank you for everything. Your story will forever be told. And Mr. President, thank you again for this incredible honor. God bless America and go Bucks. We have some really nice gifts that we're going to have our captains give Mr. President, Mr. Vice President.
Yeah. That right there. It's awesome. Yeah.
Obviously, one of the great honors of being champions, whether it's Major League Baseball, the NBA, the NFL, or college football, whatever it might be, one of the great honors is to be invited to the White House. And as I might remind you, there was a time during Donald Trump's first administration that some teams declined, or some players did. We're in a different place now. You got the coach, Ryan Day of the Buckeyes. You've got the players there. You've got, well, the governor of Ohio, J.D. Vance, who went to the Ohio State, the current vice president, a whole host of other folks. So a nice, beautiful, sunny day on the South Lawn there at the White House. They'll, of course, go in now to the Oval Office, take more pictures, spend more time. But could not be a more picture-perfect day for this special one for the Buckeyes. And I think the guy wearing the Michigan hat off in the corner brought a little class to the place. But, hey, that's just me, all right? That's just me. Let's be honest. We're not getting any younger. If you want to look and feel your best, you need to check out Pure Health Research. They have 45 premium health supplements designed to help with every health goal. Whether it's boosting your energy, trimming belly fat, supporting healthy blood sugar, pumping your testosterone up, or even reducing swelling in your legs, edema, Pure Health Research Supplement Stores has you covered. You can be healthy like these studs on TV. Each formula is crafted with natural, non-GMO ingredients, backed by clinical research, and manufactured right here in America. So that's important. Here's the best part. Pure Health Research is offering you an exclusive 35% discount. Just go to purehealthresearch.com. Use coupon code VOICE at checkout. With their 365-day money-back guarantee, there's zero risk in trying something new. Zero. So why wait? Head over to purehealthresearch.com now. Explore their 45 amazing supplements and save 35% before the deal ends with coupon code VOICE. Look, don't miss your chance to feel your best. All right? Don't miss that chance to feel your best. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with some final thoughts on this day after this.
Wounded Warrior Project empowers post 9/11 veterans and their families with life-changing programs and services.
I realized I could be successful in a civilian career.
We stand by warriors and advocate for their needs going forward.
They were by my side in the hospital, and they're still with me today.
Through our programs, community, and advocacy, we're proving
anything is possible.
Learn more at woundedwarriorproject.org/connect.
We're in a very holy time of the year. We think in terms of a deliverance.
This is where she washes the dishes.
If you're ever going to allow your Christian faith to rise and to do something for God's chosen people, now is the time. This is the home of Galena. She's 96 years old.
This is what she had to eat for today.
She has one pot with water and wheat.
My father was killed by the Nazis, and I was an orphan. I didn't know about God. But now, in the cold, hungry nights, I pray for food to the God I've never known. There are good people that love you.
You see the tears. Scripture says joy can come in the morning, and you can be the reason.
This Passover, if you will bless these hurting children of Israel, you will receive God's blessing in return. Your urgent gift today of $25 will help rush a survival food box filled with life-saving essentials and matzah for the Passover Holy Day. Call, scan, or go online now.
I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, I don't know how much longer she could have waited for us to come.
I can't even grow my food anymore. What will happen to me? I'm doomed to starve.
Tens of thousands of elderly Holocaust survivors in the former Soviet Union are living in extreme poverty, hungry, and forgotten. But through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, we can bring them hope.
Eggs. It's my favorite food. May you be blessed.
You say to them, we see you and we're here to help.
Please don't delay. Call, scan, or go online now.
Now, as you know, tariffs have been the talk of the town for a good while now, and for good reason. President Trump's tariffs are meant to encourage manufacturing to return here to the United States, from vehicles to food products. But a lot of America's prescription drug supply chain comes from China. About 90% of the components of prescription drugs that end up in the United States begin in China. And with the trade war going on between the U.S. and China, we need to be relying on ourselves more than ever. Here with me to discuss this is the Chief Scientific Officer at the wellness company, Dr. Peter McCullough. Doctor, nice to see you again. I read this book a number of years ago, China RX by Rosemary Gibson. Really opened my eyes to what's going on. And we have basically surrendered the manufacture of pharmaceuticals, whether it's for obesity or diabetes or high blood pressure, whatever it might be. The majority of these drugs come from China. I think that's a very dangerous situation. I think it's about national security. What say you?
I agree that the prescription drug and actually over-the-counter drug supply comes from China by and large. And hopefully through all of this, our Department of Commerce and FDA will make moves to bring pharmaceutical manufacturing back to the U.S. In the meantime, patients need to look at their stockpile and their supplies right now at the our emergency and our prescription program.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when you talk about all these products and the components coming from China, what occurs to me is the safety and efficacy. I mean, I've heard about a lot of, bogus drugs coming from China, rip-offs, fakes that can be dangerous as well. How do I know that the drugs coming from China can be trusted?
We can't do on-site FDA inspections like we can in the United States for U.S.-based biopharmaceuticals. So we have to rely on this kind of post-marketing self-report and inspection. It'd be far better if our critical drugs were produced here in the United States.
Yeah, and India, also a lot of our drugs come from there. Now, isn't a healthcare system that relies on a foreign power? I mean, right now, China's saying no to sending us rare earth minerals and rare earth elements. What if China says no to antibiotics? I mean, the last antibiotic factory in America was bankrupted in 2004 by China in upstate New York. And what China had done, they bought all the antibiotic plants around the world. They dropped the price through the floor, bankrupted the company in New York. And so we have no supply. And it's not like antibiotics is something you just go ramp up the factory and get going. It takes about 2 years, right? It's not something you can just wave a magic wand and be done and go on. It doesn't work that way, does it?
No, it doesn't. We should invest in some of our generic manufacturers to have plants here in the United States work on it now. This brinkmanship between the U.S. and China on tariffs is frightening my patients. I'm doing everything I can to build up their supplies. But again, Wellness Company, we've got great resources to get people through.
You do. In fact, I've got one of them right here in my hand. This is the medical emergency kit, one of many kits put together by the Wellness Company. And in this kit, you will find antibiotics and a whole host of other things that if there's a pinch, if there's a supply chain issue, if there's a tornado, a hurricane, a natural disaster, you're cut off from the pharmacy or your pharmacy goes out of business in your neighborhood and you have a problem. You guys have put together these great kits, haven't you?
We do, and we have a replenishment program. If people have used even one tablet out of the bottle, please move on the replenishment program, get restocked. We've got 2 pharmacies, one in Boca Raton, one in Beaumont, Texas. Also, for those who are members, they can get their routine chronic medications refilled through our Beaumont, Texas pharmacy.
Let me ask you about these tariffs and so forth and this struggle back and forth between China and the United States. China is the only one that still has tariffs in place from the U.S. from what's happening, a 90-day pause for everybody else, my understanding. But can these tariffs lead to drug shortages, increases in pricing, problems for patients? Is that what you're hearing? I mean, there's real concern here.
Well, for sure, especially inpatient side, because they go through group purchasing organizations. So if GPO can't find the margin, they're going to drop that product altogether. So expect drug shortages in the hospital.
Yeah, and that is very concerning. So I guess the question is, what can Americans do? What can people watching this program right now or listening to you, what can they do to make sure they have the critical medications on hand while these tariffs continue to play out globally?
The safest is to get a Wellness Company elite membership, get fully enrolled, and be ready. You know, we've got several months we can work with. We're well positioned here at the Wellness Company to not raise prices and get through this gap period that we're going to have.
Absolutely. Now, make sure you and your loved ones are taken care of and protected, just like Dr. McCullough says. Go to twc.health/voice. Use the promo code VOICE today. You'll save some money, and you can get involved with these memberships. You can check the prescriptions. You can see all the other great products that are there. Dr. McCullough, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
twc.health/voice. Look, I have these kids. You know, I have them right here. And in fact, when I was on spring break last week, they have an emergency travel kit now. Just throw in your luggage. Away you go. You've got things you can use when you're on vacation. If you're out of your home area or even out of the country, it goes with me every place I go. twc.health/voice. Use that promo code VOICE. You're going to save some money and get some great opportunity. Dr. Peter McCullough, one of the very best. Oh, and I think he was trained at the University of Michigan. See, another reason to like the guy. Anyhow, great seeing you here today. Greatly appreciate it. Another busy day at the White House coming tomorrow. No surprise. Don't forget to start your broadcast day right here on Real America's Voice with me. Happens at 6 o'clock every morning with the Steve Gruber Show. We kick off the live broadcast day, bringing you the biggest headlines of the day and exploring the big topics. And then I'll see you right back here for America's Voice Live tomorrow. Have a great afternoon.
There's nothing worse than losing your dog before their time. So why do so many dog foods contain awful things a human would never eat? To save his pets, world-famous veterinarian Dr. Marty knew he had to change what was in their bowl.
That's why I created Dr. Marty Nature's Blend, my breakthrough formula that's changed everything about dog food.
Nature's Blend contains nothing but all-natural ingredients, designed to help dogs with everything from digestive issues to itching and paw licking, even moving around better. And that's because Nature's Blend is freeze-dried. So instead of destroying the nutrients with high heat, we gently preserve them, and you'll see the difference in your dog.
Take it from a veterinarian with over 50 years of experience saving dogs' lives. I have never seen a food make this much impact on a dog's health.
Such a huge difference in her health. More energy, more playful, no more pooping issues. He's healthier, he looks better.
Dr. Marty has thousands of 5-star reviews. And for a limited time, get up to 54% off Dr. Marty Nature's Blend, plus a free gift with our special TV offer. Call or go to drmartypets.com/TV. That's drmartypets.com/TV.
Tired of the hassle and high costs of selling a home? We can help. At Ideal Agent, we'll connect you with a top local agent that'll sell your home fast for top dollar, and all this for as low as a 2% commission.
We got the top dollar for our house and the lowest commission that I could have imagined. The house sold in 2 days. It was so exciting for us.
Ideal Agent is available nationwide. There's no obligation. And best of all, our service is completely free. Call today or visit idealagent.com.
They tried to shut them up.
There's no guarantee to free speech.
They tried to cancel them.
Deplatforming works.
They even threw them in jail.
Peter Navarro,
Steve Bannon,
now in prison.
But they couldn't stop them.
It's not a prison bill that will ever shut me up.
They call them rebels.
Basket of deplorables.
They call them rogues.
They claim to guns or religion.
And they say they're outlaws.
These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
War Room presents Rebels, Rogues, and Outlaws.
You set out to take Vienna. Take Vienna!
The national bestseller by longtime Bannon producer Dan Fluette. Take a journey through the pictorial history of War Room in a culture that celebrates the weak. Show your support by standing with the rebels. Go to doitfluette.com or scan the QR code on your screen. Use the code RAV20 for 20% off your order. Stand with the rebels and never back down.
Oh, there it is. The closing bell on Wall Street, folks. And guess what we got? We have an up day. There's the bell. Ding, 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 ding. There you go. 4 o'clock on the East Coast. Markets close. 9:30 they open. Close at 4 o'clock. And look at that. Up 312 in the Dow. S&P 42. Nice move. Less than 1% across the board. NASDAQ. But the big one right there, we've been talking about it. That VIX, VIX right there. It's the volatility index, down 20.5%. You know why that matters? Because that means the markets are digesting all the ups and the downs. What's going higher? Is there going to be an announcement from China? Is Trump going to counter China's announcement with his own announcement? Are iPhones, cell phones, laptops, and chips going to be exempt? Well, it's Saturday we heard they're exempt. Sunday we heard, well, they're not exempt. They're just in a different bucket and a lower rate. So market is digesting. When that volatility index goes down, that's very, very, very good. Oil almost unchanged, $61 a barrel, still very cheap, good news. And gold down a bit because people are a little less nervous, $3,200, still a record high for any given week, with the exception of this past week. But the good news, Dow up a little bit, VIX down a lot. I'm not saying it's over. I'm not saying time to jump in and buy. In fact, I bought a lot of stuff, a lot of stocks. I bought NVIDIA, I bought Amazon, I bought Apple. I bought a lot of Apple over the last couple of days. I sold some of it out into this rally tonight. I'm just being fully disclosed here. I own Tesla. I still own Apple, Tesla, Amazon, Apple, and I'm short that VIX. So that's where we are. That's what the markets are all about. But the good news is it's not exploding, that VIX index. It's coming back down to sanity. All right. Markets just closed. I don't know about you, but all of you, but I'm absolutely done listening to these toxic Democrats whine and moan about how much they think people despise Donald Trump. Every day on every left-leaning network, all these people do is complain about Trump and spread hate and lies about what the man is doing for the country. Yet everywhere he goes, people are standing and cheering. They're waiting 2-3 hours for him to show up. So what's the deal, Democrats? Where's this hatred for Donald Trump that you so passionately speak about? Just look at the reception this man got from tens of thousands of UFC fans. UFC 314 in Miami. Trump walks in with the entourage. Just behold this and just feel the positive energy.
Making the entrance right now to a standing ovation, the 47th president of the United States of America, flanked by UFC CEO Dana White and others, Donald J. Trump.
Is there anybody else that has a walk-in other than a fighter? I mean, he has no what? He has some music. Kid Rock starts playing.
He had one at the NCAA tournament too. He always gets a walkout. It's like a prerequisite for him coming. Give him the walkout. People love it.
And so you saw that was his granddaughter Kai walking with him, with one of her siblings, and the whole career. And interestingly, Dave Portnoy, the guy who's been giving Trump a hard time about tariffs and whatnot, apparently lost a lot of money in the stock markets, who's been giving a hard time. Trump actually walked past him, went right up to him, shook his hand, said something in his ear, seems to be better. I also saw Shaquille O'Neal make his way over and seek out Trump to shake his hand as well. And there was this little moment where Trump shakes RFK Jr.'s hand, and then RFK Jr.'s wife puts her hand out. He kind of walks by. She's like, hey, what the heck? What's going on here? But yeah, there was Shaq. There's Shaq saying, hey, to the president. This man is beloved, There, he gives him a hug. Big old Shaq. And of course, the left is going crazy. We're going to stop buying Shaq endorsed products. There's Rogan right there. Joe has always been a commentator with UFC for a long time. Dana White. Kid Rock is usually there. I know he's either just launched his summer tour, but if he's not, he's definitely going to be there as well. What a great night. Great night. All right, Trump really never sleeps. Like, actually never sleep. Here's the man, your president, folks. Get this. He golfed all day. He was at Mar-a-Lago. He went to Trump National. He golfed all day, 4 hours. And it takes a lot out of you. Does his thing. 2:15 in the morning, he's on Air Force One coming back from West Palm Beach to D.C., and he made sure to remind America how inaccessible our last president was. Remember, 2:15 in the morning. Look how good he looks. Watch.
It's like 2 in the morning. You people requested. I'm always available. Unlike Biden. I think Biden would do an interview at 2 in the morning. He would do one at 9 in the morning.
How did you enjoy the fight?
I thought it was great. I thought they were all great. Have you ever seen that before? Have you ever witnessed that?
No, first time.
First time, right?
Yeah. First time. 5.
Those are seriously tough people.
This really matters. For those who say Trump is all about Trump, doesn't really care about America, it's 2:15 in the morning. He's talking to reporters. That was Jeff Mason from Reuters standing right there at the door. Apparently the reporters wanted to have a chat with Trump, and at 2:15 in the morning at Air Force One, he comes back and talks to all the folks. It's kind of interesting. I've never been on Air Force One. I haven't heard about it. So the president's up front, and Air Force Two is just like it as well for the vice president, but has his cabin up front where there's a bedroom and whatnot, but there's also meeting rooms in between. Of course, all the Secret Service and everything is back there. And then the press is behind, I'd say about mid-section back. It's the press. And they all sit in like first-class seats. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. They all mingle about. And he came back and had a conversation with Jeff Mason and a couple other reporters at 2:15 in the morning. Sure, he loves being president. I get it, yes. But also, you can love being president and get some sleep, right? But he doesn't care. He just wants to make sure everyone knows he's working. By the way, he makes a great point. The last guy, the last clown, never saw a clock at 2:15 in the morning. He never saw a clock at 5 o'clock at night either. His eyes were shut. Inside of his eyelids is all he was looking at from probably 5 o'clock at night until, who knows, 10, 11 o'clock the next morning. All right, folks, let's take a look at Energized Health, helping another couple feel better.
We started off the program and we had different goals. And the numbers were good, but they were just staying about the same. What's really cool is what happened at the end. I said, boom. I said, guess what happened? My intercellular water went up 4 points. All my joints, I mean, it was really obvious. My joints just loosened up. I felt like a kid. I'm not kidding at all. I was so excited in the end because, I mean, everything went up, and good. Everything went good to great. The inflammation's way gone. My skin feels much better too.
His skin looks great.
By trusting the science and staying steady for that full 88, you got the boom. In the end, science wins.
And we've all had moments in life where we feel stuck physically, emotionally, or even spiritually. The question is, how do we get out of those stuck moments? Here to give us some insight, founder of Energized Health, John Jubilee. John, why do you believe that some of the biggest breakthroughs actually happen after people have felt stuck for a while, for a period? Tell us what stuck means and how do you get out of it?
Yeah, well, haven't we all been there? How many people, give me a little hand there. How many of you guys felt stuck? Because Eric, we all do the same crazy stuff. We try the keto diet, we try the Weight Watchers and low carb and no carb, and we try working out at the gym and running and we've all tried all the same wrong things. And I did that myself, guys, for 10 years. And all that got me was, bone on bone in both my knees, high blood pressure, hypertension, and, it just never reversed. And so the great news is, in my pain, I developed a scientific protocol to take a scientific approach instead of a diet, instead of a magic pill, a supplement. None of that stuff is sustainable. But in the end, science wins. That's what I shared with this couple. In the end, science wins. So if we have something that's truly scientific, which we just filed our 3rd patent on intracellular hydration, it's the only thing like it in the world. Eric, when we get healthy at the cellular level, then we're actually healthy. It resets our metabolism back to like when we were 17 years old. Our energy goes through the roof. And, I always like to ask people, what's the difference between a raisin and a grape? It's just hydration, right? So imagine from the inside, if all your organs look like raisins, of course you're going to have brain fog, your thyroid's not going to work, your kidneys, your heart, everything is de-optimized. But when you get cellular hydration, that's sustainable, and your skin is your body's largest organ. That's why, I'll be 65 years old this year. Most people meet me, think I'm 20 years younger than I am. And I just say, hey, man, I'm just a grape. I'm not a raisin. So this is sustainable.
Yeah, there you go. When someone's stuck, though, it's easy to think the problem may be willpower, motivation, but there's more going on at the cellular level that might be affecting energy, cravings, or even motivation. Tell us about it.
Well, I can tell you this, that, listen, anyone that craves sugar, if you crave sugar or you crave carbs, you absolutely are dehydrated. If you measured your hydration level, men, you should be 60% hydration. Ladies, you should be 55%. Most people don't even know what their hydration level is, and it's more important than your A1C. It's more important than your blood pressure or any of your other numbers. It's the number one health marker of the human body and of human health. But the great news is once you get that intracellular hydration, you will not crave a carb. You will not even crave sugar. You can still eat it if you like it in moderation, but you will never crave it. So if you are craving it, you are absolutely dehydrated at the cellular level, and you owe it to yourself to look into this science so that you can reverse that. And by the way, your brain is 70% water. So when you lose hydration in your brain, you lose your neurotransmitters and your synapses activity up to 50% at just 10% dehydration. That's why we lose our willpower, we lose our motivation, we lose our energy, and we can't stay with all those willpower commitments that we try to make. That's the root cause.
There you go. EnergizedHealth.com. That's the way you do it. Get unstuck, folks. Order it. Check it out. I'm going to do it. John, you're going to send me that starter kit, and I promise to report back. I'll tell everyone what's going on. I'm looking forward to intercellular hydration. Absolutely. John, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Eric.
All right, folks. Before I head to break, just want to remind you about my podcast and YouTube page, which are both updated daily. Let you hear this show, of course, and tons of other unique content anywhere, anytime, any way you want it. Mobile device, laptop, whatever. Be sure to subscribe, though. Got to hit subscribe on the YouTube and also wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes.
Yikes. Leaky refrigerator coil card.
Oh no.
But your future is bright with an American Home Shield warranty to protect your covered home system. Don't worry, be warranty.
Did you know that somebody could literally steal your house? Yeah, that is a thing that happens. It is when a criminal forges your signature on one document, uses one fake notary stamp, they then take out loans using your home equity, and the worst part of it is, you don't even know it's happening until you start getting collections and foreclosure notices. This right here is why you need to use Home Title Lock.
Find out if you're already a victim. Go to HomeTitleLock.com now.
Who wants to drag out a bulky vacuum? Introducing Horsepower Duck, a super compact vac with ultra-powerful suction. Clean up that mess in the kitchen, the spill on the sofa, even sawdust in the workshop. Just duck it up. The compact design can reach the tightest places, so store it in any drawer where it's always at your fingertips. You can even store it in your glove box for the ultimate car vac. The HEPA filter helps remove dust and allergens. Plus, it dumps out with ease, so it's ready to clean again. Get the Horsepower Duck handbag for just $39.99. Order right now and we'll upgrade you to the Duck Pro package, a $30 value, yours free. You get the bendable tube, the crevice nozzle, and the soft brush nozzle, but supplies are limited, so there's a strict limit of 3 ducks per order. This may be your last chance to get yours at this low price, so don't delay. Duck it up today.
Call 1-800-693-3440 or visit duckvac.com.
So call 1-800-693-3440 or visit duckback.com now.
Are you having trouble hearing your TV or listening to conversations in loud spaces? Then it might be time to consider Nano hearing aids. Nanos are FDA-registered OTC hearing aids. Don't be fooled by overpriced hearing aids. Prescription hearing aids could cost $3,000 or more. Nano hearing aids are now offering $100 off through this special TV offer. Call now and get 2 CIC rechargeable hearing aids for only $297. And if you're not happy, return them for a full refund.
The bathroom of your dreams is only a phone call away with BCI Bath and Shower. We can make your ordinary bath and shower extraordinary. This is not a cookie cutter design. This is a complete custom build that will fit your every need, and discounts for seniors and military.
Port Canaveral, Florida, about 3 hours north of here. Mad Dog, you there?
Yes, sir.
Don't give it away. We have something to announce probably later in the week.
It's a super tease. It's a super tease.
I think we call it a deep tease. Super
deep
tease.
tease. Yeah.
Deep tease. Yeah, it means the longer you're away from the actual announcements, it's a deeper tease. It's a very deep tease. Probably by the end of the week, we'll make a little bit of an announcement. All right, you let me know what you think. I'm on all the sites. Hit me up on Rumble or wherever, YouTube. Tariffs have thrown the global economy into chaos. Potential widespread inflation tied to massive supply chain disruptions is weighing heavily on all of us. But there's a silver lining that most people missed. President Trump specifically exempted gold and silver bullion from these sweeping tariffs. While these new policies are triggering significant financial chaos, the administration preserved your ability to diversify into precious metals. If you're concerned about your savings, I encourage you to have a free consultation with a Birch Gold Precious Metals Specialist. The first step is to text America to 989898 and receive your free, no obligation info kit on gold. Learn how to hold gold and silver in a tax sheltered account. Birch Gold will help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a gold IRA for no money out of your pocket. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and thousands of thankful customers, text America to the number 989898. Again, text America to 989898 to claim your free info kit right now. And again, folks, we just talked about gold being $3,250 an ounce. It's off the charts. It keeps going up. You got to diversify. You got to have gold in your portfolio. This is for me talking. It's not Birch Gold. This is Bowling saying, own gold. I do. I always have, and I always will. Well, today, President Trump sat down with President Bukele of El Salvador, and CNN once again tried to get a question in here. You got to watch how Trump answers the CNN, of course, stupid, dumbass question. Watch.
This morning, 99.1% to be exact.
Why are those numbers not in the media?
Well, they get out with the fake news, like CNN over here doesn't want to put them out because they don't like putting out good numbers. They only like putting out because I think they hate our country, actually.
So Trump rips Caitlin Collins from CNN. They don't get along very well. But CNN they've been horrible to Trump, and so is Caitlin Collins. I'm surprised they even let her in the room. I guess they have to, whatever. But he likes to take the shot, and they deserve it. And so after he said that, the room tried to move on to another question. And Trump's like, hold on. He went to Pam Bondi, who reiterated what Trump was saying about deporting that thug that wasn't supposed to be here in the first place. Pam had her words. And then Stephen Miller, again, he's the deputy senior advisor to Trump, explained exactly to Caitlin Collins in maybe words she might be able to understand. Watch.
Wait a minute. Can you just also respond to that question? Because, it's asked by CNN, and they always ask it with a slant because they're totally slanting because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them. But would you answer that question also, please?
Yes, gladly. So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So, with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So, it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As 2 immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So he had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States and had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation. This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful, and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the President could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13, which, as I'm sure you understand, rapes little girls, murders women, murders children, is engaged in the most barbaric activities in the world. And I can promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
You would think that they would have no more questions. Let it go. This guy's a bad guy. He wasn't supposed to be here. Bukele's right there. He's a citizen of El Salvador. Bukele said, I'm not going to release a terrorist. Are you nuts? It went back and forth like that for a while, and Trump had the last word.
Mr. President, you said that if the Supreme Court said someone needed to be returned, that you would abide by that. You said that on Air Force One just a few days ago. And they said that it must be facilitated.
Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that? Why do you go over and over? And that's why nobody watches you anymore. You know, you have no credibility.
She wants more punishment, she can show up. Because Trump learned the first time. Trump made that Jim Acosta's life, made his career. Acosta used to try and play the same game, and Trump, went toe-to-toe with him, and Trump knows his time, just leg sweep him. He's good at it. I think Caitlin Collins is on short time to be a host on CNN. Could be wrong. All right, Taylor Lorenz, another lunatic lefty journal, I'll go journalist with air quotes, just dropped a miserable take about, you remember that murderer, Luigi Mangione, alleged murderer, I should say. In fact, she was quite literally drooling over this murder before she finally got her comments back on track. Listen.
So you're going to see women especially that feel like, oh my God, right? Like here's this man who's revolutionary, who's famous, who's handsome, who's young, who's smart. He's a person that seems this morally good man, which is hard to find.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's a murderer. He allegedly shot that healthcare CEO in the back. What do these liberals love about a murderer? Looks like the rabid Democrats have found their latest buzzword, and it's chaos. Here's a quick little montage of the lefties all somehow using that same term.
We begin this hour with the chaos.
The average American sees chaos. The American people see chaos.
It's total chaos.
You brought chaos.
It's just complete chaos.
Unleashed an economic chaos.
They unleash chaos. They are creating chaos.
This chaos. There's too much chaos.
Total chaos.
That amidst the chaos,
we're going to see chaos.
After seeing all the chaos,
the chaos is unleashed on America.
Continue to see the chaos. Economic chaos.
A lot more chaos. Trump's chaos. This is chaos with such chaos.
The chaos, because of this chaos. Chaos. All of this chaos.
Uncertainty and chaos. Given all that chaos.
When it's chaos.
All the chaos. Chaos and confusion grows.
More chaos, dysfunction.
The chaos is the purpose. The chaos is the goal.
It's chaos.
So here's how those words come about. The Democrat machine puts together a narrative, and they put it out to all their folks, all their congressmen and senators and even governors. What I have a problem with, mixed in with all of those lunatic lefties saying chaos, 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 because that's their word. They want to paint Trump with some sort of chaotic presidency. It's the news people. It's the news people who are supposed to be journalists, fair and balanced, unbiased, and they're using the same word, the same term that the Democrat Party has put out for their folks too. They're in bed with the Democrat Party, folks. They are in bed. You don't hate the mainstream media enough. Speaking of people you don't hate enough, this rhino, this garbage piece of poop, Bill Kristol, awful human being, hates Trump, supposedly a conservative back in the day, is a Bushy, doesn't count. Well, he thinks we should just replace all white workers with immigrants. Can you imagine if I said it or anyone on the right said this about Hispanic or black workers? Listen.
To be totally honest, if things are so bad as you say with the white working class, don't you want to get new Americans in who aren't going to be? I'm serious. You can make a case that this is going on too long and this is too crazy probably, and I hope this thing isn't being videotaped or ever shown anywhere. Whatever tiny pathetic future I have is going to be totally collapsed. You can make a case that America has been great because every I think John Adams said this at the beginning, right? Basically, if you're in a free society, a capitalist thriving society, after 2, 3, 4 generations of hard work, everyone becomes kind of decadent, lazy, spoiled, whatever. And then you have these waves of people coming in from Italy and Ireland and Russia and now Mexico who really want to work hard and really want to succeed and really want their kids to live better lives than them and aren't sort of clipping coupons or hoping that they can hang on. And meanwhile, we grew up as spoiled kids and so forth. So in that respect, I don't know why this moment is that different from the early 20th century or the mid-19th century.
Somebody else a chance to ask a question at this point.
Don't you want to rebut me briefly, though?
You guys are a sad example of white men. Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, thinks that Congress should strip Donald Trump of his presidential authority. Congress should take it away. Listen.
Congress has a job right now, and that is to step up and take this authority away from Donald Trump. Congress has the responsibility to decide, is it really an emergency or not? Are we really in an emergency with Belgium right now? Are we really in an emergency with South Korea? Congress can say, no, there's no emergency. It's a resolution. And if we do that, it takes Donald Trump back to the trade as we had it before. And tariffs are then decided with Congress having an important say in it. And that's an important signal to the rest of the world. Right now, it's a no curbs on Donald Trump, and that means chaos and corruption.
I hate to break this to you, Senator Pocahontas. The way you can do that, there's only one way to do it. It's the 25th Amendment. You need more than 50% of the cabinet. So you need somewhere in 9 cabinet secretaries to agree with the vice president to agree. And that's how you 25th Amendment the president. It's got to be for incompetence. I think you're way off base. You have no idea what you're doing. And by the way, you're not Native American. We're going to be right back with Congressman Tim Burchett. He's got some really interesting things to talk about. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Hey, just want to say thank you for your service.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure you've heard that before, but we want you to know that we understand the freedoms and liberties in this country are because of people like you who served and gave everything for the cause of freedom. We don't take that lightly. So thank you for everything you've done and sacrificed for us.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me.
We're ready for our ticket.
It's been paid.
People thank me for my service all the time. But I want to thank you for being someone
worth fighting for. You make it all worth it. If you really want to thank me and other veterans like me, go to helpdav.org and support disabled American veterans. That is the best way to say thank you and keep our promise to our nation's heroes.
You can say thank you to our nation's heroes by going to helpdav.org right now, or call the number on your screen and give your monthly support of only $19. Your support lets our disabled veterans know you appreciate them and everything they have sacrificed for us. When you do, we'll send you this DAV blanket as a thank you and a reminder that you support those who served.
When you support DAV, you're showing veterans like me that you were worth fighting for.
Please call or go online to helpdav.org right now. Your support in this moment honors our veteran service.
Hello, this is Mike Huckabee. President Trump said he wants to take back the White House and teach our kids to love our country. That's why my team created a kids guide to President Trump. It'll teach your kids all about President Trump's accomplishments and his vision for America. And right now, I want to give it to you for free as part of this free gift bundle.
Order your free kids guide to President Trump, get a free bonus guide, and a free membership to AMAC featuring dozens of money-saving benefits at kidsneedtrump.com. That's kidsneedtrump.com.
All right, folks, look at that. Wayland, Tennessee. Now, I don't really know where that is. I've spent a lot of time in and out of Tennessee. I know Nashville. I know Knoxville. I know some other, I don't know where Wayland is. I mean, you know, I-40, up and down I-40 a bunch of times. Well, I got an idea. Why don't we bring in a congressman from Tennessee? Let's bring in Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee, who had a great win this week with the passage of the No Taxes for Terrorists bill. Good to join you. Glad you're with us, Congressman. Where the heck is Wayland, Tennessee? You know, you're in Knoxville. MD, we could have done Knoxville for the congressman, but where is it, sir?
I have no idea. I'm looking it up right here. I've lived in Tennessee my whole dadgum life. Hang on. We're looking it up. Where is it?
I love it.
Oh, well, it's Wallen, Tennessee.
Oh, okay,
it's Wallen,
sorry.
not Wayland. Okay. Oh, Wallen, yeah. That's up here in East. Up here in East Tennessee. That's where all the wealthy people go up there and act like they're country people.
Well, it figures, you know, MD, our guy MD is one of those wealthy guys. I guess that's what it's all about. Congressman, I want to talk about your no funding for terrorist bill in just 1 second. But first, something happened over the weekend. Saturday Night Live. They think they're funny. They've lost the script. They've lost everything. Mind you, this is Holy Week, and I know, sir, you're a God-fearing man like the rest of us. This is a Holy Week, and let's roll that clip of what Saturday Night Live did to Trump in America on Saturday. Watch.
But now everything is back exactly how it was, minus a few $1 trillion. An historic transfer of wealth from the middle class to my buddies. Oh, well, it's true. The stock market did a Jesus. It died. Then on the third day, it was risen. And then on the fourth day, it died again, possibly never to return, just like Jesus. Where the heck is that guy? Come back, get me out of this.
I'll let you weigh in on that, sir. Pretty bad timing for them to be playing around with that kind of humor, and I'm using air quotes for humor.
I think that's what sells for humor. Every knee will bend. You know, I remember my daddy had some scripture. It was on an old, in his bathroom. It was on the, on one of the lights in there on the left-hand side, and it said that about the scripture, and it said that Jesus wouldn't be mocked, and it also said that that we would, see. Oh, I know it was. You deny me before men, I'll deny you before the gates of heaven. Mm-hmm. And I just all fits in there. Stuff like that used to make me angry. Now it just makes me sad. Yeah, it makes me sad that gets passed off as humor. Could you imagine if they had said something about any other organized religion? I mean, I guess that's supposed to be Christ there over Trump's right shoulder there on the left-hand side there. And
the actor, whoever this clown is, comes out and says, "I'm Donald Jesus Trump," is what he said. So, I mean, just complete mocking of Christians, Christianity, Christ in a Holy Week.
At some point, Christians are going to say enough is enough, and we're going to, the advertisers on those things will have to pay the price. We say we're not going to buy our cars, we're not going to buy our computers, or whoever or whatever is on that. And I thank you for bringing that to my attention, because honestly, I haven't watched Saturday Night Live, I guess, since Eddie Murphy was on there, because I can't stomach it anymore. Mm-hmm. And so but I'm gonna find out who the advertisers were doing that, and I am gonna make a few calls to some people, because that's beyond the pale. That is just pathetic. It really is. I remember during the opening of the Olympics, they had some kind of Jesus at the Last Supper, some transgender or something.
Mm-hmm. That is true. They did. They had
mocking it. It's just mocking us. I'm definitely at the forgiven end of the spectrum in the Christianity world, but it just makes me sick to my stomach.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, let's talk about this bill. No funding for terrorists bill. Tell us about it, and congratulations on that. Yeah. What a common sense, great idea.
Yeah, I got it out of committee. It's going to the floor. Let's hope our leadership puts it on the floor soon. It's basically brought to me by attention to a guy named Sean Ryan, who is a Navy SEAL, lives in Middle Tennessee, over near Nashville, I think in Franklin now. And he and another guy named Legend, who is an Afghan that fought on our side. He goes by Legend because he can't go by his real name because the hits he has out on his life. And so through these NGOs, non-government organizations, we have about 1,000 of them, it looks like. We've been, the Taliban has been scraping off the top about $40 million a week that we've found. I actually have a memo, a 5-page memo. It's not something just written out on a cocktail napkin that you always hear is leaked. This is an official document. It was unclassified and everything, or declassified, I guess I should say. And it said we put close to $5 billion in their hands, $5 billion of your tax dollars. It's just beyond belief, and you can't get anybody to even do anything about it. And the Democrats came out against the bill because it went after the NGOs, these non-government organizations, which number we think about 1,000 over there that are funneling money somewhere, and there's no way to monitor where it goes. And Elon Musk told us something in a closed-door meeting I thought was very appropriate for this. He said, Tim, he said, there is a paper trail, and this stuff is coming back to Washington. You remember Sam Bankman-Fried, the guy who was who got busted in the it was
crypto,
running money from it was a Ponzi scheme with cryptocurrency and all this stuff. He was funneling money back to politicians. Joe Biden's campaign got around 10 million, I think, and other people did. People in our party, I think our former speaker was involved in one of them as well. And it, they were funneling that back into campaigns. And I think you're going to find eventually that this money is flowing back, not just into campaigns, but into politicians' pockets.
Well, Congressman, I'm believing that most of the reason the left is pushing back against stopping the funding to Ukraine is because a lot of that money was coming and may still be coming. It may be Zelensky promising a lot of things to a lot of politicians here, especially the ones that are loudest, complaining about stopping the gravy train we're sending over there to support that war.
Yeah, Zelensky even said he didn't know where millions were going, but close to half the money, I think, where it went or where it's going. And to make that statement and that not to be at the pinnacle of every news station in the country or the world, to me is quite baffling. I think because the left has invested so much into the so-called traditional news that they own them and they know it. This money, the money's just going out everywhere except into back into the taxpayer's pocket. It's going into the politicians, the crooked leaders. We knew it was doing that all along. I mean, that's pretty much accepted, but the amounts that we're getting reports of are just beyond belief. And so, you wonder why a bill like that can't get out. Couldn't get it out of committee last year. And this year, we've mounted a pretty good offensive on it. And the chairman, he's a war veteran himself, got both his legs blown off and several fingers. And he's jumped on it so we jumped on it hard.
Republicans, you guys hold the House now. Why wouldn't it go to a full vote? Why would Speaker Johnson not put it to the floor?
That's a great question. He has told me that it's going to get to the floor, but every week it's another $40 million, and it still has to pass the Senate. We've got Senator Sheehy and Tommy Tuberville have both agreed to sign on with it, and I believe a couple of others have said they're going to get on it too. But this ought to be something. I mean, $40 million a week. This is just, we sent $100 million. Biden came down and said we need $100 million to help out those people in Upper East Tennessee and North Carolina after Hurricane Helene through FEMA. And then I didn't vote for it because I knew they'd steal it. $54 million of that went off the top of it, went to house illegals in New York and high-rise apartments. So, we have a track record of just stealing your money just straight out.
And not only that, one of those NGOs that you speak of, not specifically for this that leaks to terrorists, but one of the other NGOs was hiding illegals. And guess whose daughter was leading that NGO? Judge Boasberg, the guy who told Trump he can't send Tren de la Agua people over to foreign countries to get them out of our country. It's incredible the amount of back-scratching, quid pro quo, and illegal BS that goes on. My friend, thank you so much, Congressman Tim Burchett. Appreciate your time, sir, as always.
Thank you, brother, and thank you for putting this out, man. I'm out every day in the hinterlands, and people love your network, and they love what you all are doing. So thank you all.
We appreciate you coming out, sir. Appreciate it. We'll get you back real soon. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
All right, folks, before we head to break, I just want to remind you all about my podcast and YouTube page, which are both updated daily. Let you hear this show, of course, and tons of other new and unique content anywhere, anytime. But be sure you do that. Hit that subscribe. Subscribe now, YouTube, and anywhere you get your podcasts. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes.
Hey, America. Listen up. Car repairs are seeing record highs. They've seen a nearly 50% increase in recent years due to a shortage of car parts and workers, and that number is still rising. With more drivers choosing to keep their cars longer, that means a lot of out-of-warranty drivers are getting hit with expensive repair bills. If this is you, you're risking paying thousands when your vehicle breaks down. Or you could call CarShield now to help save big on your next covered repair. CarShield offers low month-to-month plans that have helped save drivers thousands on car repairs. These plans help protect your car, truck, or SUV, and up to 5,000 parts and systems. Look at how much these repairs could cost. Just listen to how much these customers saved.
I've been a CarShield customer for more than 2 years. I've filed 4 claims and saved nearly almost $7,000.
I've been a CarShield customer for over 4 years. I've saved over $3,000 covering 2 cars, and I couldn't be happier.
Car repair costs are currently at an all-time high. Don't run the risk of having to pay out of pocket. Call CarShield right now and get their price lock guarantee, where your price never goes up as long as you cover your car.
Saving drivers money on car repairs with CarShield is only the beginning. Plans go the extra mile and include 24/7 coast-to-coast roadside assistance, all at no additional cost to you.
Best of all, you'll get access to CarShield's concierge service, who can even help you find a mechanic near you.
Avoid the skyrocketing costs and call to speak to an expert now. Together, you can find the plan that works for you in just minutes. Don't wait. You have to call before your car breaks down, or it's too late.
CarShield has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau and was voted America's most trusted auto protection company. It's not a matter of if, but when your car will break down. It's time to call CarShield now. Call 800-853-6533. 800-853-6533.
The FBI calls it house stealing, the latest scam where a cyber thief transfers the title of your home out of your name and steals your hard-earned equity.
It's roughly 60 to 90 days for that person to even figure out that they're the victim of this crime. You start getting foreclosure notices and you realize you've got 4 mortgages on your house that you didn't even know existed.
Unfortunately, it's on you to protect yourself. You might already be a victim. Check your title status now at HomeTitleLock.com.
All right, Mad Dog. Let's do it. Come on.
I got you.
Cleveland, Ohio, Columbus, the University of Ohio, Ohio State University is in Columbus, Ohio.
I couldn't find Columbus.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure we knew that. All right, folks. Well, she actually said the quiet part out loud.
Also, you know, the other way I think you can think about it is that we are, you know, perhaps we are in the downfall of the broken way. This was not built to last. Inequity, injustice is not built to last. It lasts a long time. It could last hundreds of years, but ultimately it crumbles into this, you know, a small cohort of incompetent people that create damage. And from that, something new can spring. And so maybe something is declining right now, but maybe it deserves to decline.
There is so much wrong with that. I can't. Let's try and break it down a little bit. Does the left hate America or what? It's giving Michelle Obama energy. Remember this moment?
And let me tell you something. For the first time in my adult lifetime, I'm really proud of my country. And not just because Barack has done well.
So she wasn't proud of America. Right? They really do hate this country. Barack and Michelle Obama launched the end of America. That clip is so profound for a number of reasons. That other one. AOC, the walking question mark of how the hell did she get elected, is the one saying it. Not the sharpest tool in the shed by any stretch of the imagination. And yet she's still deemed as a front runner to be the 2028 nominee. And number two, that person right there who did the interviewing, you know who that is? Look at how they nod in agreement with her sheer stupidity. That's Megan Rapinoe, who hates this country with all her heart. So much so that ungrateful American athlete kneeled during the national anthem when she was part of the U.S. Olympic team in the Olympics, kneeling to the national anthem. The most disrespectful and most disgusting of displays by Michelle Rapinoe, pink hair and all. And three, how utterly un-American are these people? You're a representative, AOC, in Congress. You're an American who represents Americans in your district in New York, and she sits there and poops on this great republic. Folks, these Democrats are making it too easy for me to do my job today. AOC, the beacon of leftist stupidity and blatant Marxism, thinks that America is in a downfall. Well, it was in a downfall, to be fair, under Joe Biden. But she also says that America was not built to last. And this is truly the kicker here and shocking. She says that America deserves to decline. I'm sorry, what? Think about this. The left is siding with other countries against our own, and that's bad enough.
Been the one to call it out. The fact that I'm rooting for Canada and I'm rooting for Mexico a lot is really wild, but they are really the ones that are speaking truth to power right now. They can see what it is, and they were like, we are not messing with this crazy regime from Mayor Longo, and basically calling them thugs. That's what it is. But I'm like, y'all knew who he was when y'all elected him. So don't act
They're
surprised.
siding with illegal aliens instead of Americans. They're siding with terrorists over Americans. They're even now siding with China against us, our adversary, and a perpetual human rights abuser, by the way, purely because President Trump is trying to level the playing field with them. So something the Democrats have always believed in, at least they said they did. But this is their truth, folks.
We are, perhaps we are in the downfall. And so maybe something is declining right now, but maybe it deserves to decline.
The only person who deserves a downfall, the only people, rather, is the entire left in America, hell-bent on demonizing the other half of the country, us, while trying to burn the whole thing to the ground. It's even come to the point that they're eating their own in order to make that point clear. Think about it. In just the last couple of days, we've seen examples of their fragility, their complete and utter downfall on full display. They're canceling their HBO subscriptions purely because Bill Maher displayed the true Americanness by reaching across the aisle. And I don't give him too much credit here, but all he did was display honesty about meeting President Trump.
Because everything I've ever not liked about him was, I swear to God, absent, at least on this night with this guy. Bob, Kid Rock, told me the night before, he said, if you want to get a word in edgewise, you're going to have to cut him off. He'll just go on. Not at all.
Bill Maher dined with the president, and now the left is done with Bill Maher and the network that airs his show. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, of all people, visited the White House, played a bit civil with the president.
Which is why it's so important that as a nation, we protect the pristine waters. Yep.
And, all of a sudden, I assume the lakes are all interconnected, right? Yeah. So at some point, they're going to be in the other lakes. And so we're going to work hard on that.
Again, not going to give Gretchen Whitmer, of all people, credit for doing their actual job and working with the leader of the free world on the issues people in her state that she governs are facing, some of whom are now vowing not to vote for her again, simply for being in the Oval Office next to Donald Trump, by the way, which is probably why Whitmer, this is not a fake, this is an actual New York Times photograph, folks, right there, why Governor Whitmer, reminding us of the garbage leftist Trump-hating politician she really is, shield her face from the cameras for a bit before Trump called on her and made her talk. But it doesn't matter. The damage was apparently already done. And then because Shaquille O'Neal simply paid his respects to, again, the leader of the free world at UFC 314, the fight this Saturday night, people are throwing away their Icy Hot, their Reebok apparel. They're swearing off Oreo cookies, Hershey's chocolate, Burger King, Papa John's, literally any brand Shaq was ever associated with. Trump derangement syndrome, emphasis on derangement. What's even more deranged, if that's even possible, is that this party that hates America has completely lost touch with the American people, thinks half the country we're a bunch of deplorables, we're garbage, we're fascists, we're Nazis. Am I missing anything, Dems?
You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
Because unfortunately, we do have a fascist groundswell in parts of this country, mainly among white men, let's be clear, but in small pockets among black and brown men too.
The party of corruption. Joe Biden, the president, who they covered up for 4 years, was drooling, napping, falling asleep, passing out, and whose family committed more corruption and treason to cover generations. And then they pardoned them all on his way out. Are you freaking kidding me, Democrats, with this? And then this is the pinnacle of deflection and a lack of self-awareness, complete lack. Listen.
Oligarchy or democracy, but we cannot have both. Los Angeles, I've made my choice. We must fight the oligarchy that has created this nightmare. And that is why I have never taken money from lobbyists or corporations, and it's why I never will.
Is she kidding me with this? The George Soros Open Society Foundation has given Democrat NGOs and candidates at least $32 billion with a B, dollars. Kamala Harris spent over $2 billion on her campaign, paying for actors and pop stars to twerk for her, literally and figuratively, and still got smoked. Hold on. What's an oligarchy? Well, from Oxford Dictionary, I'm quoting, a small group of people having control of a country or organization. This is the party that wants to rule, wants power, wants control. A single party with control over the American people. That's what they want. That's what they've wanted all along. It's entirely dictated by one guy, George Soros, his New World Order, and the ivory tower elites like Obama and Gates. Their party hasn't represented the working class in years, maybe even decades. They're interested only in treating Americans like idiots, incapable of having a government-issued ID to vote or getting into a university based on, I don't know, merit, test scores. Ooh, crazy idea here. So racist, so bigoted. And a woman who represents Americans saying that America deserves a decline isn't the epitome of oligarchy. That isn't straight out of the book of elitism. Of course it is. Instead of saying that America deserves to be great again. Remember that? That America and Americans deserve to be great again. Make America great again. To be our very best. She revels in our decline. If that isn't oligarchy, I don't know what is. Let them eat cake, says the princess of Marxist darkness. So to my message to AOC and every single one of those deranged, violence-inducing American haters is this. The so-called downfall you referred to is the one you yourselves insist on instigating day in and day out. And Americans aren't interested in what you're serving up anymore. You live your so-called downfall. Go ahead, take it, run with it. And we'll be over here raising up America and Americans in our golden age with Trump once again. 2.5 minutes. We'll be right back.
I'm Jonathan Lawson, here to tell you about life insurance through the Colonial Penn program. If you're age 50 to 85 and looking to buy life insurance on a fixed budget, remember the 3 Ps.
The 3 what?
The 3 Ps.
What are the 3 Ps?
The 3 Ps of life insurance on a fixed budget are price, price, and price. A price you can afford, a price that can't increase, and a price that fits your budget.
I'm 54 and was a smoker, but quit. What's my price?
You can get coverage for $9.95 a month.
I'm 65, retired, and take medications. What's my price?
Also $9.95 a month.
I just turned 80 and I'm on a fixed income. What's my price?
$9.95 a month for you too. If you're age 50 to 85, call now about the #1 most popular whole life insurance plan Available through the Colonial Penn program. Options start at $9.95 a month. That's less than 35 cents a day. You cannot be turned down because of your health. No medical exam, no health questions. Your acceptance is guaranteed. And this plan has a guaranteed lifetime rate lock, so your rate can never go up for any reason. Options start at $9.95 a month. Plus, you get a 30-day money-back guarantee. So call now for free information, and you'll also get this free beneficiary planner. Use this valuable guide to record your important information and give helpful direction to your loved ones with your final wishes. And it's yours free, just for calling. So call now for free information.
Call 1-800-538-4499 for your free information and your free gift. That's 1-800-538-4499. There's no risk or obligation. That's 1-800-538-4499. Call now.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Join the over 2 million Americans who love this country. Join the over 2 million members who love America. Join AMAC.
That's a live cam. I can get behind. There's our control room. There they are. And again, folks, we're live. The live cameras are live. We're always live. We love being live. What up, guys? Everyone good? Hands up. Woo. Boop, 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 boop. All right, folks, welcome back. Stephen K. Bannon traveling today, but we're lucky enough to be joined by Human Events Daily host, Jack Posobiec. Jack, really good to have you. I just want to replay a couple of sound bites we played earlier in the show. So I was watching this. I adore this. Trump just eviscerating Caitlin Collins in the Oval Office. She yelled out a question. He embarrassed her, and then he's like, let's give him a question. And then he did this. Watch.
This morning, 99.1% to be exact.
Why are those numbers not in the media?
Well, they get out with the fake news, like CNN over here doesn't want to put them out because they don't like putting out good numbers. They only like putting out because I think they hate our country, actually.
Oh my gosh, one more. Do the other one, part 2 of that. Real quick.
Mr. President, you said that if the Supreme Court said someone needed to be returned, that you would abide by that. You said that on Air Force One just a few days ago. And they said that it must be facilitated.
Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that? Why do you go over and over? And that's why nobody watches you anymore. You have no credibility.
I love it. Jack, your thoughts on that? That was a great meeting, by the way, with Bukele.
He's blowing them up. And, there were 2 real aspects that I love so much. Number one is that the media is going all in on what I call the Maryland man hoax. The Maryland man, they brought this Maryland man down to El Salvador, and Politico, they refer to him as on their headline. It says Maryland man, Trump refuses to bring him back. Bukele, they said, will you bring him back? I said, wait a minute. And Stephen Miller release came out and said, hey, wait a minute. This guy is a citizen of El Salvador. He's an illegal who has no right to be in our country. How does that even work? Wouldn't that technically be us kidnapping him and bringing him up? And then Bukele, which I thought was fantastic, and obviously he's dealt with this since his own tenure coming in office, is he says, look, it's not about the amount of people we incarcerate. What about the millions and millions of people we liberate from gang violence, from drug violence, from these criminals on the street? I love the way that he put it that way.
Yeah, he did. And he said, and Trump loved it too. Trump's like, he said, can I use that? Because it is a great line. You have to incarcerate.
Oh, we're all using it now.
Yeah, you have to incarcerate people to liberate the masses, the people who are God-fearing, law-abiding citizens versus the people who come over here, break the law, come over here and rape and pillage our women, and they're not even supposed to be here. It was a great moment. And Bukele, I love what Bukele said. Oh, I'm not going to let him out of our prison and into my own citizenry because we want to keep those types in jail. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And so he said, wait a minute, this guy, we've looked at him. We've looked at the rap sheet. He was, I believe, if I remember correctly, I'm sure Politico will blow me up if I'm wrong, but I think this guy was someone who had actually committed crimes in El Salvador before he came to the United States. He was hiding out. Then he commits more crimes in the United States, then gets sent back. It's a joke. The whole thing's a joke. The whole system is a joke. It's completely broken. And so this is, by the way, the games they play. They play these games of saying, oh, well, you didn't have your paperwork in order, and this guy was deported on the wrong deportation order, even though the other judge said he should be deported. It's a joke. What? And then, of course, they sit there. And by the way, Chris Van Hollen. So Senator Chris Van Hollen will sit there of Maryland and say, I demand a meeting with President Bukele about this. Say, excuse me, did you have a meeting, Senator, with Rachel Morin, the mother from Maryland who was murdered by an MS-13 member with her 4 children about a year and a half ago? No, I don't remember anything about this. I don't remember the Democrats ever giving them a time of day, even though that's an actual American citizen. It's totally crazy how everything they do is absolutely backwards and upside down.
And Trump is doing a great job of exposing. He talks about how they frame their questions. They put bias into their questions, and he's calling them out. He gave Jim Acosta a platform in his first presidential term. He's not doing that anymore. He's not going to let them frame questions in a lying and biased way. He just cut her. He leg swept Caitlin Collins. I don't know. Does she last at CNN?
No, I think Caitlin will stay around, but I kind of like Caitlin Collins. You know, it's nice to have someone that you know is just completely weak on every single line of questioning. She always thinks she has something. Even Scott Bessent was like the nicest guy in the